Chapter 500. After bidding farewell to Xiao Mingchu, Luo Tianyu, and the rest, Xiaofan returned to the wooden house and sat cross-legged on the bed, recuperating. I heard that many of the spectators are discussing the upcoming quarterfinals. Their views are very consistent. They all believe that Naga will be able to enter the finals and defeat all his opponents without shedding a single drop of blood. He will become the champion and obtain the only purple celestial key. Xiaofan smiled lightly. Ah. Only one person can survive. Then, according to everyone's wishes, Nagas should live. I, Xiaofan, and the others should naturally die in battle. However, there are many things in this world that don't always go according to one's wishes. Shockingly, Xiaofan's eyes were filled with battle intent. His left eye was filled with thunder, and his right eye was filled with the earth. His entire aura changed, and he exuded an invincible aura. You are a peerless expert. If I, Xiaofan, am able to defeat you in the arena, the accumulation of my soul will be indescribable. When I return to the ethereal plane, should be able to convert my Jinqi into true talismans, and my results will definitely far surpass those of the expanding acupoint realm. It was a quiet night. That night, Xiaofan did not cultivate at all. His mind and body were completely relaxed. He adjusted his vitality to its peak. The next day, noon. After a night of complete relaxation and rest, Xiaofan's current state of mind was extremely full. His entire person was filled with spirit, as if he had been reborn. The embryonic form of the Thunder God Tyrant body and the embryonic form of the Starry Sky Dominator body were becoming more and more integrated. They were inseparable. All of Xiaofan's bones, blood vessels, and cells were filled with an invincible aura. He walked steadily to the front of the light screen. The battle for the quarterfinals. If everything goes smoothly, including this battle, then there are only 3 battles left. The genius area exploration is finally about to come to a perfect end. Xiaofan's lips curled into a steady smile. Right at this moment. Wang on the screen. Suddenly, the sound of a flute could be heard. Xiaofan tensed up slightly. Then, Immortal Emperor Zhu Dao's voice resounded, "Ha ha ha ha, 3 days of rest. The 8 strongest heroes must have adjusted their vitality and mental state to the best, right? Ha ha ha. Good, all of you should be impatient. Now, we will randomly draw your opponents for the quarterfinals." It's about to begin. After Xiaofan refined the embryonic dual attribute Immortal physique. His every movement was filled with the conviction of victory. At such a young age, he already had the bearing of a grandmaster of a generation, a lofty person. Xiaofan smiled calmly. Who will be my opponent? But it doesn't matter anymore. At the same time, Xiao Mingchu, Luo Tianyu, and the other evil heroes who were watching the battle. They all stared at the screen nervously. They all knew that the quarterfinals would once again be a time when the degree of brilliance and cruelty would reach the peak. 4 battles, 4 peerless geniuses would fall. Xiao Mingchu, Luo Tianyu, and the rest were all praying and cheering for Xiaofan, hoping that he would win again and enter the top 4. Who will be the dead soul under my sword? Ha! I can't wait. Naga's mouth curved into a sinister smile. He used the eyes of killing gods and demons to sweep across the other 7 evil heroes on the screen. When his eyes swept across Xiaofan's image, he could not help but mutter to himself. Your progress is very fast. In these 3 days of rest, you must have made new progress, right? This potential, even I am a little moved. I hope that I don't meet you so soon. I, Naga, hope that you have enough room for improvement, so that when I kill you in the end, it will be a different kind of fun. Otherwise, everything will be too boring. Outside the wooden house, in a garden filled with the fragrance of flowers. At this moment, in the sky above the garden, there was a canopy of 5 emperors. Under the canopy, there was a white-browed man with a jade-like face, gentle and radiant. His eyes were cold and indifferent, looking down on the world. He sat under the canopy, and from all directions, there were a total of 36 enchanting and graceful girls, serving him attentively. The orioles sang and the swallows danced, and the fragrance of cosmetics drifted in the air. The opponents for the quarterfinals will be randomly decided soon. Junior sisters, follow me to battle. The white-browed man said with a cheeky smile. Yes, senior brother, the girls answered in unison, their voices soft and lingering. At this moment, some of the evil heroes who were watching the battle poked their heads out from the wooden house. Some of the evil heroes who were watching the battle could not bear to see the white-browed man's extravagance, and could not help but mutter. In a battle of life and death, he actually came up with such a gentle atmosphere. What a weirdo, how dare you? Presumptuous. Dog mouth. Hearing this, the girls around the white-browed man all scolded him. You're dead. The white-browed man stretched out his finger and pointed at the evil hero who spoke rudely to him. I'll remember you. When we leave the genius zone, I'll destroy your entire family. In other words, he's only at the 9th level true chi realm, at this moment. 7-colored treasured umbrella. Heaven suppressing suppression. Suddenly, waves of true chi shot out from the true acupoints of the white-browed man, condensing into a 7-colored umbrella. In the sky, petals fluttered, and it was a spectacular sight. Junior sisters, lend me a hand. Suddenly, 36 girls turned into rays of light and entered the 7-colored umbrella, turning into maids in palace attire on the umbrella. At the same time, the white-browed man's cultivation soared. From level 9 True Chi Treasure Realm, it continued to climb, and finally reached level 10 True Chi Treasure Realm. Furthermore, a vertical eye directly bloomed between his eyebrows. He actually relied on the help of these girls to directly open the heavenly eye. Rays of divine light that could destroy everything bloomed from the white-browed man's body, descending to the world. The evil hero who had previously contradicted the white-browed man immediately wet his pants in fear and directly fainted. Go, the white-browed man, holding the umbrella, turned into a ray of light, and flashed into the wooden house. Xiaofan stared at the light screen. At this moment, hum hum hum, on the light screen. The images of the 8 evil heroes began to spin at lightning speed. The speed of the rotation was abnormally fast. Faster and faster. At the very beginning, Xiaofan could still rely on his tyrannical and boundless mental strength to grasp the positions and trajectories of the 8 images on the light screen. But towards the end, the images of the 8 evil heroes were completely distorted, turned into rays of light, and even Xiaofan's mental fluctuations could not be seen clearly. At this moment, boom! The light screen shook. The images of the 8 evil heroes suddenly changed. One by one, matched in pairs. In an instant, it became a situation of 4 groups against each other. For groups against each other, half of the 8 evil heroes would fall on the arena. This was a cruel battle. In the end, there would only be 4 evil heroes left. Evil heroes, the battle of the top 8 officially begins. Your respective opponents have been randomly chosen, after 10 breaths. You will be teleported into the arena. The Immortal Stone's reward for the battle of the top 8 will exceed 20 billion. You can exchange for at least 20 Immortal cards to use in the 2nd floor of this Emperor's treasure. Enough idle talk, the battle begins. You will be teleported into the arena. Good luck to everyone. The opponent was chosen. Xiaofan scanned with his mental strength. He discovered that the opponent matched with him, on the light screen, matched with Xiaofan's image was a white-browed man, handsome and elegant. The corners of his eyebrows and eyes were filled with an evil aura. In his eyes, there was a kind of invincible, cold arrogance, as if he was looking down on the common people. This white-browed man held a flower umbrella in his hand. The umbrella was overflowing with colorful lights. It was magnificent and magnificent. My opponent for the quarterfinals is him. Previously when I watched this white-browed man's battle, he seemed to be relying on a true treasure, an umbrella, to fight and defeat his opponent. Xiaofan nodded slightly. At this moment, boom, in the light screen, a divine light burst out, a whirlpool bloomed, directly pulling Xiaofan in. It was chaos in all directions. In the middle, there was a square arena. Xiaofan stood quietly on the arena. In front of Xiaofan, it was the white-browed man. He held a rainbow-colored treasured umbrella, his whole body was glistening, giving off an unfathomable feeling. In between the white-browed man's eyebrows, there was actually a heavenly eye. Mystical and extraordinary. Oh! Immortal Eye Realm, opened the 101st True Meridian, opened the heavenly eye, is a pagoda master level. Xiaofan suddenly understood. Pagoda master level. Xiaofan raised his head and smiled faintly. Oh! I didn't expect that my opponent for the quarterfinals would be you. The white-browed man was also startled for a moment. He waved his hand, the treasured umbrella immediately floated above his head, continuously rotating, emitting a divine light that could destroy everything. In a trance, the shadows of beautiful women appeared in all directions of the treasured umbrella, slowly swimming around. Not bad, not bad. The white-browed man looked at Xiaofan from top to bottom with the eyes of an animal, and finally, he laughed disdainfully. Barbarian, N? Xiaofan frowned slightly. Your brute force is not bad. To be able to defeat a barbarian like Li Xiaotian, you also have some ability. The white-browed man sneered. There must be some secrets on your body. This young master observed before, your strength did not even reach 10 billion ding, but it soared to the limit of 700 billion ding. In the battle with Li Xiaotian, your strength once again exploded, reaching 300 billion ding. You must have used the rest time between the battle to cultivate in seclusion, that's how you obtained such progress. You have a lightning attribute physique. When you were in seclusion, this young master discovered that the lightning god's body tempering pill in the storage was continuously exchanged in large quantities. I believe that it must be you who exchanged for it. Your improvement is so monstrous. No matter how I think about it, only an immortal pill can do it. However, the lightning god's body tempering pill in the storage has long been empty. I believe that you won't have any more improvements in this battle. The limit of your strength is 300 billion ding, right? The white-browed man's expression was as if he had grasped everything. It was as if nothing could be hidden from his discerning eyes. Oh! You really guessed correctly. Xiaofan laughed involuntarily. The lightning god's body tempering pill has indeed been used up a long time ago. I wanted to exchange for a few more, but I couldn't. You're actually able to consume an immortal pill. Not only did your body not explode, you even obtained a huge benefit and your battle strength soared. How about this? Tell this young master the secret of how to consume an immortal pill. This young master promises you that in this battle, I'll let you die peacefully and without pain. How about it? Since you're going to die soon anyway, it won't do you any good if you keep this secret to yourself, right? If you insist on doing things your own way and refuse to tell me this secret, then after I leave the genius zone, I'll definitely find your realm and behead all your family and relatives. I'll bring all your wives and concubines back to my realm and sell them to the brothel, where they'll be humiliated every day. How about it? You're courting death. The muscles at the corner of Xiaofan's eyes twitched a few times. I'll let you die a rhythmic death. Chapter 501. Throughout the course of the Celestial Stone competition, every opponent that Xiaofan encountered was extremely arrogant. They were all disdainful when facing Xiaofan. This white-browed man even threatened Xiaofan, demanding him to tell him the secret of how to consume the celestial pill. Otherwise, he would destroy Xiaofan's entire family. However, judging from the looks of this white-browed man, he did indeed have some ability. His current state was that he had opened 101 true acupoints, and each acupoint was filled with raging true energy that could shake the heavens and earth. As the 101 acupoints revolved, the illusion of a dragon and a tiger coexisting with each other was produced. His aura was extremely powerful and encompassed the 4 seas, as if he wanted to sweep all the time and space in the world into his acupoints. This kind of aura was almost invincible. Opening 101 true meridians and successfully opening the heavenly eye were the limits of a mortal's cultivation. One more step would be immortal ascension. In other words, the white-browed man Xiaofan was facing had almost reached the peak of a mortal's cultivation realm. He was a pagoda master. Moreover, this white-browed man held a treasured umbrella in his hand. The umbrella emitted an extremely powerful aura that made it hard for people to breathe. As the treasured umbrella spun, the space around it was completely destroyed, leaving behind only the majestic aura of the mythological realm. The power of the epic realm and the legendary realm was breathtaking. He is indeed a powerful enemy. In terms of aura, he is even stronger than the pagoda masters of my plane. Xiaofan was well aware of this. However, I have the embryonic form of a dual attribute immortal physique. Even if I am facing a pagoda master, I don't need to show any weakness. My goal is to defeat all my enemies, crush them with brute force, survive, and obtain the purple immortal key. A mere pagoda master is nothing in my eyes. As he thought about it, Xiaohan's aura continued to rise, and his entire body began to tremble. In the blink of an eye, they were standing on the ground and pointing at the sky. He was like an ancient heavenly god. His left eye was filled with lightning, and his right eye was filled with the earth, staring at the white-browed man. You really don't know what's good for you. The white-browed man didn't expect Xiaofan to be so stubborn. In an instant, he was enraged. His face was filled with killing intent. Forget it. Since that's the case, I'll give it to you. Since that's the case, I will capture you, break your arms and legs, gouge out your eyes, and interrogate you to my heart's content. Humph. Barbarian. The way you fight. It was extremely simple, primitive, and violent. In other words, it was a clash of brute force. Then, today, this young master will also give up on techniques and use the power that you are most proficient in to defeat you. Crush all your so-called confidence. A mere 300 trillion cauldrons of strength is like a mantis trying to stop a chariot. As the white-browed man spoke, the umbrella above his head slowly rose and gave off a brilliant divine light. A sharp aura enveloped the surrounding 5,000 kilometers. Images of women in palatial attire swam in the air like heavenly maidens, scattering beautiful flower petals. At the same time, the sky turned dark, and all the light on the arena seemed to be sucked away by the treasured umbrella. The white-browed man's aura continued to rise to the limit. The heavenly eye between his eyebrows emitted wisps of immortal light to judge all living beings. Inside Xiao Mingchu's wooden house, Xiao Mingchu didn't dare to move as he stood in front of the light screen, watching the intense battle between Xiaofan and the white-browed man. Strange sounds burst out from Xiao Mingchu's throat. His heart was in his throat. Powerful. Too powerful. The aura of this white-browed man is definitely much stronger than the tower master of our plane, especially that umbrella of his. It's so majestic that it can kill people and devils. Let's not talk about the battle. If I were to encounter him, he only needs to take out his treasured umbrella. Just that aura alone would be enough to crush me. Junior brother Xiaofan is really not easy. He is actually as calm as usual when facing the white-browed man. He doesn't seem to be suppressed by the aura of the treasured umbrella at all. However, I don't know what junior brother Xiaofan's chance of winning this battle. This white-browed man is many times stronger than Li Xiaotian. Inside another wooden house, a demon warrior who was watching the battle was wearing a big red robe. There was a faint mark between his eyebrows. It was obvious that he had opened the heaven's eye and was a domineering figure in the world. Oh! Young Master Beihai. His sect only has one male disciple and many female disciples. In every generation, there is only one male disciple. He has a high position and authority. The most outstanding female disciples in the sect are at his mercy. During the battle, he can even absorb the power of the female disciples and use it on his own body, condensing it into a true treasure umbrella with violent power. Among the Tower Masters, he is an outstanding talent. However, this young Master Beihai's cultivation base is only at the 9th level of true Qi. Right now, he is relying on the help of many female disciples to increase his cultivation base. Even if he defeats his opponent, it will be an unfair victory, on the arena. It's over. I'll crush you with one strike. The white-browed man suddenly roared. From the rotating treasured umbrella, a large hand suddenly appeared. This large hand was surrounded by dense talisman characters. Moreover, there were countless women in palace clothes waving banners and shouting. The momentum was extremely terrifying. This large hand covered the sky and suddenly grabbed towards Xiaofan's head. The great power swept over, toppling the mountains and overturning the seas. It was as if the entire world had fallen into a dark apocalyptic disaster. All living beings must be annihilated. Xiaofan did not make a sound. All of a sudden, a thick earthen yellow aura gushed out from every pore and cell in Xiaofan's body. The yellow aura condensed into a great wall, mountains and rivers in the void. Xiaofan's aura suddenly rose. Indomitable spirit. Connecting heaven and earth. At the same time, the light screens in all the spectators' wooden houses emitted a destructive vibration. Then, a golden number rose up, 600 billion ding. The white-browed man's ultimate attack had actually reached the level of 600 billion cauldrons. Although this was a power that exploded from true Qi and was different from the pure physical strength of Li Xiaotian and Xiaohan, its power definitely far surpassed the physical strength of Xiaohan and Li Xiaotian in the battle. Ha 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 ha. Lose to this young master. Brat, your mere strength of 300 billion ding is not a match for this young master. The power of this young master's true Qi attack is twice as powerful as yours. Reaching 600 billion ding, it can destroy a plane and destroy a planet. You, die. This young master's true Qi divine technique can sweep the world. Dominate the world. Just a barbarian like you is a match for this young master? On the arena, the white-browed man's arrogance was heard. It was an unbridled and wild laughter. At the same time, roar. Xiaohan finally exploded. His entire body exploded with earthen yellow light. His entire body began to rise at a speed visible to the naked eye. Rise. Rise again. The violent earth aura, containing abundant immortal qi, wrapped around Xiaohan. In an instant, Xiaohan's physical body, blood vessels, and bones. Even every cell, every pore, every drop of blood, was filled with earth genes. One after another, the Earth Emperor's secret marks. Like a lotus flower blooming. 10 feet. 20 feet. 30 feet. 40 feet. Xiaohan's body continued to expand. The void was distorted, and a powerful force fluctuated. Xiaohan's frail body suddenly changed, and in less than a breath's time, he actually changed. He became an even more powerful physique. In the end, Xiaohan actually reached a height of more than 2,000 feet. His head was in the starry sky, and his feet were on the thick earth. He dominated everything. He seemed to have become an ancient giant, the ruler of the starry sky. A powerful force erupted from every inch of his flesh and blood. With a step, the space trembled. With a move of his body, the wind and clouds in all directions rolled. His power covered the sky and earth, and everything in all directions trembled under his power. Xiaohan activated the earth genes in his body to the extreme and completed the transformation. At this moment, after Xiaohan's transformation, his defense was many times stronger than Li Xiaotian's by who knows how many times. This was because Li Xiaotian relied on the earth genes in his body to continuously dig out his potential and cultivate to the limit. As for Xiaohan's earth body, it was tempered by immortal pills. In the blink of an eye, the white-browed man's attack, the limitless giant hand from the treasured umbrella, had already hit Xiaohan's giant body. Bang! A loud sound rang out. The sky fell and the earth cracked. When the attack dissipated, Xiaohan still did not move and stood there majestically. The white-browed man's attack that could destroy heaven and earth actually could not hurt Xiaohan. Ha ha ha. Good. The defense of the earth body is indeed indestructible. The defense of this earth body is far stronger than the thunder god tyrant body. I have swallowed more than 2,000 earth emperor body strengthening pills. With my body, it is a piece of cake for me to withstand a few trillion ding of true energy attack. Xiaohan let out a long roar, feeling very satisfied. In the process of this attack and defense, the advantage of the earth body was displayed vividly and vividly. As for the white-browed man, he originally thought that this attack would definitely kill Xiaohan. He did not expect that at the critical moment, Xiaohan would transform. This caused his all-out attack to not be able to break Xiaohan's defense. At this moment, the white-browed man lost the initiative. In his eyes, what appeared was Xiaohan's towering figure that was 600 feet tall, like an immortal god of war. What's going on? It's obviously a lightning body. Why? Why does it contain the aura of earth? His defense is extremely abnormal. This. Could it be? Could it be? Could it be? Is it? Dual attribute special body. It's the legendary dual attribute special body. The white-browed man let out a heart-wrenching scream. I miscalculated. To actually encounter such an abnormal person. It's a complete miscalculation. Previously, he was holding back his strength. Your attack seems too weak. Xiaohan looked down at the white-browed man who was like an ant on the arena. He took a step forward and directly stomped on the white-browed man. No! Monster! Get lost! The white-browed man waved his treasured umbrella continuously. Colorful divine rays burst out and poured down on Xiaohan's huge body like the pattering of raindrops. Every ray of divine light had the power to crush mountains and rivers and destroy everything. Every ray of divine light that burst out from the treasured umbrella had the power of 600 billion ding. Bang! 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 In less than a breath's time, the white-browed man had already launched a total of 999 attacks. Every attack had the power of 600 billion ding. With such a powerful attack, even a plane would definitely be destroyed. Die. Still not dead? How many attacks can you withstand? In the midst of the smoke, the white-browed man screamed ferociously. Poo 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 poo. Suddenly, rays of golden light shot out, blowing away the smoke and lingering true qi in the arena. In an instant, Xiaohan's body that looked like an ancient heavenly god appeared. His body was covered with a yellow luster and the indestructible golden body was pushed to its limit. There were even thunder and lightning entangling around him like dragons and snakes. The continuous attacks just now still did not break through Xiaohan's earth defense. His entire body was practically immortal and indestructible. Indestructible by 10,000 tribulations. Are you done? Is it my turn to hit you? Xiaohan grinned. Chapter 502. Ah. No. How is this possible? Why can't I break his defense even after using all my strength? Why? Even the pagoda master of my dimension would be severely injured if he did not block it with all his strength. Why? Why is this brat unharmed? What kind of freak is he? The white-browed man retreated continuously. Fear and despair finally appeared in his supercilious eyes. All of his self-confidence and sense of superiority had vanished without a trace. Moreover, after going through the storm-like attack just now, the true chi in his 101 acupoints was almost used up. He looked like a lamp that had run out of oil. No. No, die. I, your father, will beat you into ashes. At this moment, Xiaofan's huge body started to shrink. The earthy yellow halo around his body started to fade and was replaced by the heavenly thunder. Crackle. Thunder and lightning. Xiaofan's aura also changed abruptly. From being thick, sturdy, and impregnable, it became restless, unstable, full of danger, and full of tearing power. The earth physique suddenly changed to the thunder god tyrant body. From defense to offense. On Xiaofan's side, his aura rose again. As for the white-browed man, he was already an arrow at the end of its flight. In terms of aura, Xiaofan had completely suppressed the white-browed man. He could not turn the situation around. Boom! Suddenly, Xiaofan rushed towards the white-browed man. Xiaofan was domineering and indestructible. His body turned into an electric current and tore through the air. His whole body vibrated and mysterious thunder marks rose in all directions. At this moment, Xiaofan was like a dragon or a tiger, a wolf or a leopard. He was like a god that had descended from the heavens. In an instant, he arrived in front of the white-browed man and punched. No one could describe the speed of this punch. No one could describe its domineering power. It dominated the heavens and the earth, shook time and space, and twisted the universe. The moment the punch was punched, a crystal-clear color appeared on Xiaofan's skin. The heavenly thunder flowed within it. The earthy yellow airflow and the golden glow surged within it. Xiaofan's internal organs let out a thunderous sound that sounded like a heavenly drum. The power of 5 trillion cauldrons was punched out. This punch was so powerful that it could even shatter a steel mountain. Bang! It was like a meteor streaking across the sky, like an ancient divine arrow. The punch that could kill all the gods and Buddhas in the heavens directly landed on the white-browed man's treasured umbrella. Pooh! Puff! 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 Pft! The power of the punch had destroyed all the forbidding auras and formations inside the umbrella. Moreover, the screams of countless women could be heard from within the treasured umbrella as fresh blood spurted out. The 36 stunning beauties that the white-browed man had taken into his treasured umbrella were all killed by Xiaofan with a single punch. Shatter. A beautiful woman perished. At the same time, the white-browed man's aura plummeted like a deflated balloon. The realm of his true chi cultivation. It also plummeted. His Jinqi had fallen from Jinqi 10 to Jinqi 9. One by one, his Jinqi acupoints were sealed shut, and the heaven eye at his glabella had also dried up. Oh! Ha 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 ha! He is just a level 9 Jinqi cultivator who relied on external forces to reach level 10 Jinqi and open his heaven's eye. I was wondering how strong he would be, but it turns out that he is just trash. Die! Bang! Xiaofan threw another punch at the white-browed man's body, causing a shocking dent to appear on his body. His bones were crushed and his tendons were broken. His internal organs were crushed and sprayed out from his mouth. Bang! Another punch. Bang! Another punch. Xiaofan was like a ferocious tiger that had entered a flock of sheep. With a few punches and 2 kicks, he had beaten the white-browed man into a pile of minced meat. Congratulations, outstanding Yao Rao, you have defeated your opponent and successfully advanced to the top 4. You will receive more than 20 billion celestial stones as a reward and take all the celestial stones from the loser's brocade pouch. Immortal Emperor Zhu Dao's voice reverberated in the arena. Boom boom boom, endless celestial stones were sucked into Xiaofan's brocade pouch like a river or a tide. Xiaofan retracted his aura and calmed down. He thought in his heart. Top 4. Finally, Top 4, currently, countless evil heroes that had been watching the battle in the giant hall had rushed out of their wooden houses and were discussing it crazily. The top 8 battles had all ended. The top 4 had been decided. However, among the 4 battles of the top 8, the most exciting one was undoubtedly the battle between Xiaofan and the white-browed man. Xiaofan had completely crushed the white-browed man with a crushing advantage. However, from the crowd's point of view, the white-browed man's battle strength was not weak. A single strike of 600 billion cauldron strength was enough to compete with a tower master. He was definitely not a weakling. However, such an expert was unable to break through Xiaofan's defense even after hundreds and thousands of attacks. In the end, he was destroyed by Xiaofan's punches. The disparity between the strong and the weak was enough to make one's hair stand on end. We have underestimated him. We have all underestimated the kid who defeated Li Xiaotian. He is far more than just a tyrannical attack. His defense is also abnormal enough. Among the top 4, it is definitely the strongest defense. Naga is in trouble. That kid has really hidden his strength. So it turns out that he has a dual attribute special physique. It seems that the final winner has been left in suspense. Naga might not be able to laugh until the end. That kid's attack and defense are both good. But Naga's sword is unconventional, coming and going with that one sword. This is hard to say, however, I still favor Naga. Naga's sword is known as the killing god's sword. No mortal in the world can block this sword. Not necessarily. As long as Naga's sword fails, he will most likely be defeated by that kid. Naga's undefeated legend might be ended by that kid. What a fool. How could Naga be defeated? In the top 8 battles, Naga also faced an opponent who had opened his heaven's eye and had 101 true acupuncture points in his body. Naga still killed him with one sword without any hesitation. I favor Naga. I still favor Naga. At the beginning, the spectating evil heroes were all one-sided and all favored Naga. However, Xiaohan's strong rise caused these spectating evil heroes to look at Xiaofan more highly. There were even a small number of evil heroes who thought that Xiaofan could defeat Naga and become the champion. In a garden high up, Naga leaned against the railing and looked down. A mocking smile flashed across his mouth. That kid. He is indeed not bad. He could actually defeat Whitebrow so easily. Dual attribute physique. Among them, his earth physique is even more perfect than Li Xiaotian's. Killing such an opponent is so satisfying. Really satisfying. I can't wait. At this moment, Xiao Mingchu, Luo Tianyu, Xiaohan's 5 evil hero slaves, and a small number of evil heroes from Xiaohan's side were all extremely excited. A lot of supreme experts are praising junior brother Xiaohan. I heard that some Tower Master level demon heroes are now very afraid of junior brother Xiaohan and even said words of fear. Xiao Mingchu said with a trembling voice. Little brother Xiaohan used his strength to obtain dignity. Too monstrous. His progress is as fast as drinking water and eating rice. Luo Tianyo's voice was choked with emotion. I don't know how he did it. Junior brother Xiaohan seems to be in seclusion again. The top 4 battles are coming up soon. We must not disturb him. Xiao Mingchu said seriously. Xiaohan's wooden house. Xiaohan sat cross-legged on the bed. Dual attribute physique is indeed powerful. Just now, I actually managed to easily kill a Tower Master evil hero. When I obtain enough Thunder God body tempering pills and Earth Emperor body tempering pills, I will truly create a dual attribute immortal physique. Then, I will be invincible. I will definitely be invincible in the human world. Even if I meet an ordinary immortal, I will be able to fight against him. Xiaohan was indeed a little complacent. But very quickly, Xiaohan restrained the pride in his heart. The battle is not over yet. There is still the top 4 battles and the final battle. Just now, I saw the screen of Naga's top 8 battle. He still killed his opponent with 1 strike. A powerful evil hero that was not any weaker than White Brow was killed by Naga in a flash of thought. Naga must be my ultimate opponent. Naga is very strong, very strong. Moreover, Naga must have noticed me. He must have watched every single one of my matches. Naga is very clear about my battle strength. In the final battle, if I meet Naga, with my current methods, I might not be able to win. After all, Naga's sword was too strange. Not only was its attack power sharp and decisive, it even had a profound soul attack. The concept of that sword must have been great. My physical strength and special physique might not be able to block Naga's killer god's single sword. I must cultivate again. I cannot relax at the slightest, I cannot fall at the most crucial moment. Then, let's cultivate the extinguishing sky decimating earth mental technique. Suddenly, Xiaofan's entire being calmed down. There were no distracting thoughts in his heart, and his sea of consciousness was clear. The liquid mental power star in his sea of consciousness slowly rotated, emitting obscure mental waves. It was comprehending heaven and earth, comprehending the great Tao. Naga, perhaps you will never guess that my greatest trump card is actually not my physical strength, nor is it my special physique, but my mental strength and saber intent. Break through to the 20th spiritual finger technique. Before this, I successfully broke through to the 19th spiritual finger technique. However, when I was trying to break through to the 20th spiritual finger technique, I was restricted by my physical body and could not break through. I wholeheartedly wanted to break through to the 20th spiritual finger technique, then continue to break through to the 21st spiritual finger technique, solidifying my mental strength. However, before this, my physical body was very weak and could not support such a violent mental strength entering my sea of consciousness. And now, my Thunder God Tyrant body has formed. Starry Sky Dominator body has formed. Raising my hand, I have 500 billion ding of strength, dominating the world. I cannot be compared to before. So what if I cultivate the extinguishing sky decimating earth mental technique again? Chapter 503. Xiaofan was trying to break through the 20th finger seal. In the end, Xiaofan was not satisfied with the increase in his physical strength. Because Xiaofan knew that mental energy and saber intent were his foundation. After solidifying his mental energy, the ripples of his mental energy could transform into a tangible killing weapon, killing people without a trace. Its power was not inferior to an immortal equipment. It could behead someone from 1,000 miles away. After solidifying his mental energy, it could form a horrifying mental energy star. With a slight tremble of the mental energy, a plane would explode. Furthermore, the cultivation of mental energy and saber intent complemented each other. Xiaofan believed that as long as he cultivated the extinguishing heaven and earth mental energy to the 28th finger seal and reached consummation, he would be able to open the door to the ancient saber realm hidden in the cracks of space and receive the ancient saber soul, allowing his saber intent to enter spiritual mastery. Spiritual mastery saber intent could kill immortals. Furthermore, to kill the demon god soul in Xiaofan's heart, a strong physical body was useless. He had to use spiritual mastery. This was the only way. The strength of my physical body and the embryonic dual attribute immortal body are actually the perfect foundation for me to cultivate the extinguishing heaven and earth mental energy. Xiaofan's mind was extremely clear. Soon, Xiaofan entered a profound meditative state. He had no thoughts, and his thoughts were clear. His hands were like butterflies flying through flowers, forming many profound and simple hand seals. The many hand seals followed the heavenly Tao of the universe and started to connect. Breaking through to the 20th finger seal. This 20th spiritual finger incantation consisted of a total of 100,000 subtle and profound hand gestures. In order to complete the 20th set of spiritual finger incantations, to complete the 20th set of finger seals, he had to connect these 100,000 hand seals. He had to connect them perfectly. Like moving clouds and flowing water. There could not be any mistakes or delays in the middle. Previously, in the illusionary demonic palace, Xiaofan had tried to break through to the 20th finger seal. However, when he reached the 200,000th hand seal, he encountered a bottleneck. It was difficult to surpass the 20001 hand seal. If he forcefully cultivated it, his entire body would feel like it was about to collapse. It was like a lamp that had run out of oil. All the vitality in his body seemed to have been squeezed dry. This was because his body was not strong enough. It was far from being able to contain such blazing mental energy. But now, Xiaofan's body was definitely enough. Xiao xiao xiao, Xiaofan's hands danced rapidly, drawing out faint silhouettes that seemed to possess a life of their own, as he struck out several mysterious runes and talismans. In Xiaofan's brain, it also exuded layers of spiritual energy halos, shining like stars. Very soon, Xiaofan successfully completed the last bottleneck, the 20,001 hand gesture. Moreover, he still had strength to spare, and it was very easy. A portion of the hallucinatory demonic realm fragments that he had collected in the hallucinatory demonic palace still remained in Xiaofan's sea of consciousness, and he had yet to completely refine them. Now that the strength of his flesh shell had been guaranteed, Xiaofan began to practice the 20th psychic finger art. Every hand gesture connected together, he slowly melted away the fragments of the hallucinatory demonic realm. Xiaofan's mental strength, which had been dormant for a long time, rose once again. The liquid spiritual power planet began to boil, and more dark golden metal fragments appeared. Hong hong hong, in Xiaofan's entire sea of consciousness, waves after waves of mental energy were emitted. The mental energy star was beginning to solidify. Countless dark golden shards began to form a combination. Secret rune shuttle. Xiaofan deeply felt that after the shackles of his physical body were gone, his mental power could freely fly out. Boundless and unbridled. There was no bottleneck. Even his life level had taken a leap. The spiritual power planet in his sea of consciousness became increasingly condensed, sturdy, and dazzling. The density of his mental power had increased. His mental power was highly concentrated. His essence, qi, spirit, and bearing were flawless and extraordinary. In this strange and profound cultivation process, Xiaofan's mind was without any impurities. His entire mind was as clear as crystal. Suddenly, Xiaofan felt that his spiritual power and soul were suddenly released, soaring into the sky, and permeating into the endless void. This feeling was as if his soul was floating out of his brain. Out of body. It's the same feeling as when I practiced the 19th psychic finger art. Out of body. My soul is in an out-of-body state again. Because he had a similar experience, Xiaofan was not so nervous and frightened now. Xiaofan's soul flew higher and higher. In the end, it seemed as if it had flown out of this genius zone, out of this space, and out of the 9 heavens. It's so light, as if I can fly to wherever I want. The whole world seems to be free of the shackles of space. What a strange feeling, as if my mental power can do all kinds of spatial jumps in this mysterious void. In the next moment, in the void, endless spacetime storms appeared. The heavens and the earth, the sun and the moon dimmed. In an instant, Xiaofan's consciousness was lost in an endless spacetime. He felt alone and helpless. In the depths of the spacetime, he felt as though he would never be able to return. All around him, he could see an endless storm howling and howling. Just like the last time, I felt the ancient gate of the Saber realm again. Xiaofan had experienced the same thing before. Now, Xiaofan knew how to deal with this matter. His mental power directly condensed. As expected. In the depths of the space-time storm, Xiaofan vaguely saw a gate. However, this gate was very blurry, and its specific shape could not be seen clearly. However, that door seemed to have formed an instinctive attraction for Xiaofan. This caused Xiaofan to have a strong desire to rush over and open the gate to see what was inside. Buzz buzz buzz, shockingly. The great accomplishment stage saber intent that was floating in Xiaohan's soul suddenly let out a howl. The gate of the saber realm. The gate of the saber realm. I want to open the gate of the saber realm. I want the ancient saber soul to be infused into my saber intent. Xiaohan's soul. Completely trembling. Deep in his heart. He let out a heart-wrenching howl. Extreme excitement and desire. Xiaohan's soul. All of them slowly swam towards the gate of the saber realm. However, when Xiaohan's soul was still a long distance away from the gate of the saber realm, it suddenly came to a halt. A dangerous aura that could crush the starry sky rushed towards him. The spacetime storm, the turbulence of the starry sky. They came one after another. Xiaohan's soul was like a canoe in the middle of a vast ocean, and it began to shake. A feeling like a moth flying into a flame welled up in his heart. This caused Xiaohan to feel a sense of imminent danger. No. It still won't work. My soul still can't get close to that gate. If my soul moves a little further, it will be completely crushed by the aura radiating from the gate. Annihilation. Although, this time, my soul is getting closer to the gate. It's already slightly shorter than the last time, but it's still far from enough. My soul is still too weak. Retreat. If this goes on, my soul will be shattered. Xiaohan's thoughts flickered, and he deliberately forced his soul to return to his body. After an unknown period of time, back again? Xiaohan's body trembled, and he realized that his soul had returned to his sea of consciousness. He opened his eyes again. Xiaohan's body was now soaked in cold sweat, and there was a large pool of sweat beside him. However, when his soul had left his body and roamed the void, Xiaohan's soul and mental strength had once again received an indescribable baptism and tempering. Suddenly. Boom, the last gesture of the 20th mental finger technique was completed. This caused the density of the liquid mental strength star in Xiaohan's sea of consciousness to soar once again, and his mental strength had increased by a huge level. Wang wang wang, the liquid mental strength star in his sea of consciousness let out a joyful roar, and waves of throbbing could be heard. Xiaohan looked inside, and he was surprised to find that at this moment, the surface of the liquid mental strength star was already covered with a layer of dark golden mysterious patterns, and on it was the outline of an ancient, mottled, and magical mark. However, this mental strength star was only solid on the surface, and its interior was still liquid. In the vast sea of liquid mental strength, there were a large number of floating metal fragments. It hasn't completely solidified, but it's almost there. Xiaohan was clear in his heart. However, although Xiaohan's mental strength hadn't completely solidified, the density of his mental strength had increased by who knew how many times, causing Xiaohan's mental strength to be more tenacious, more sacred, and emitting the light of the great Tao. The great success stage natal saber qi entrenched in the mental strength star like an evil dragon, and it was even sharper and larger than before. Its lethality was even more terrifying. When a wisp of great success stage natal saber qi slashed out, it would be able to forget the 7 emotions and 6 desires, and not be in the 6 paths of reincarnation. It could kill people and ghosts, and slash through everything with a single thought. With my current saber intent, killing Li Xiaotian and the white-browed man is practically just a thought. They can't block it at all, can't dodge it, and can't resist my great success stage natal saber qi. Although it was only from the 19th finger gesture to the 20th finger gesture, the power of Xiaohan's saber intent had increased by who knew how many times. Phew, next, it's time to break through to the 21st finger gesture. Once I succeed, my mental strength will solidify, and my soul will also become stronger and stronger, and I'll get closer and closer to the gate of the ancient saber realm. The power of my saber intent will also reach a new level. I have a feeling that as long as I complete the 21st finger gesture and solidify my mental strength, then I will definitely be able to defeat Naga. As long as I complete the 21st finger gesture and solidify my mental strength, then opponents at the level of Naga will never be able to catch up to my footsteps. My level of existence will be far behind that of people at his level. Just like the difference between a mortal and an immortal. Xiaofan stood up and stretched his body. He walked in front of the light screen, and his mental strength swept across the light screen. So, I've already been in seclusion for a day and a night. There are still 2 days before the battle of the top 4 officially begins. Xiaofan had already spent an entire day and night cultivating the 20th finger gesture. And, there are still 2 days left. I'll try to break through to the 21st finger gesture. Once I complete the 21st finger gesture and solidify my mental strength, then I will be able to sweep through everything. To be continued. Chapter 504. While Xiaofan was concentrating on his secluded cultivation, in the garden area outside, countless monsters gathered in groups of 3 to 5, discussing the top 4 battles that would take place in 2 days. From the top 32, to the top 16, to the top 8, and finally to the top 4. For the many spectating monsters, there were thrilling classic battles. Countless peerlessly talented and powerful demons had fallen, dying to even more dazzling opponents. The cruelty and tension of the competition was suffocating. It was even enough to make people collapse. The final top 4 would fight against each other. Then, the only winner would be decided. This would also be the craziest, most glorious, and most intense moment of the Immortal Stone competition and the entire Genius Zone exploration. It was also the most unbearable cruel moment. It's finally over. Some monsters were sighing. The long Immortal Stone competition is about to end. We will also end the Genius Zone exploration and temporarily return to our respective planes to prepare for the exploration of the second level of Immortal Emperor Zhu Dao's treasure trove. The Immortal Stone competition is indeed cruel to the point of making one's hair stand on end. But fortunately, it has nothing to do with us. We all obtained the treasures we wanted. All kinds of immortal pills, immortal equipment, and even offensive and defensive immortal equipment. Come to think of it, we are also extremely lucky. In fact, there is no need to fight for the purple immortal key. It is wisest to quit while you are ahead. What's the point of sacrificing oneself for some empty reputation? In the top 32 of the Immortal Stone competition, there are some geniuses who will definitely become tower masters in the future, and even have the possibility of becoming immortals. But to die here, it is truly a pity. They all have the hearts of the strong. To be able to die here, perhaps it is the most perfect fate, in another garden. Naga strolled leisurely in the garden, admiring the flowers of the immortal world. The reddish-skinned man with a golden sword hovering above his head stood behind Naga. His expression was one of shock. His expression was slightly uneasy. Naga, 2 days from now, it will be the semi-finals. If I meet you, I'll definitely kill you. If I meet you, it is very likely that I will not be a match for you. But from the looks of it now, there's another troublesome fellow besides you. If I were to encounter you, even if I were to die in battle, I would accept it wholeheartedly. But if I were to encounter that brat, I really won't accept it. He has a special dual attribute physique, and is considered to be a natural-born lucky person. His cultivation base has been refined by relying on the special advantages of his bloodline genes. He wasn't like us, who relied on our talents to cultivate to a higher realm and battle prowess. To lose to such a person, you really won't be able to rest in peace. The devilish man with reddish-brown skin said angrily. Kid. Naga turned around. There was a faint smile at the corner of his mouth. Now that you've encountered me, you'll definitely die. You cultivate the way of the sword, and so do I. But your sword is still too weak. However, if you encounter that kid, you might be able to defeat him. Naga. He has a dual elemental special body type. The earth body type has abnormal defense, and the lightning body type has quick and violent attacks. The devilish man with reddish-brown skin, Jida, argued. In fact, the scariest thing about that kid isn't his power. Instead, it was his defense and the speed of his improvement. At the very beginning, in the top 32 battles, he only had an attack power of 700 billion cauldrons. But now, yet, it has reached 500 trillion cauldrons. In such a short period of time, he has improved so much. This monstrous level is truly frightening, ha 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 ha. Naga let out a disdainful laugh. Kid, your swordsmanship should be considered outstanding in your realm, right? Gid was stunned for a moment before he spoke in an unconcealable tone of arrogance. Among sword cultivators under 10,000 years old, I'm the best in the realm. Moreover, my swordsmanship can be ranked in the top 3 on the devilish hero ranking list. He's only second to some old antiques. Your talent in swordsmanship is indeed strong. Naga commented. However, there are some flaws in your mind. Furthermore, your insight is lacking. As such, you will never be able to reach the pinnacle of the sword Tao. Let me tell you. Suddenly, Naga's aura became fierce. Swordsmanship and saber skills are specialized in breaking through body cultivators. No matter how strong a body cultivator is, even if he has a special physique, he will not be able to pose a threat to a sword cultivator and a saber cultivator. Gid was stunned for a moment before he spoke in a serious tone. Naga, please give me some pointers. Whether it is a body cultivator or a special physique, their bodies are strong, but the cultivation of their souls will not be too strong. The Creator is fair. If he gives a strong body, then he will not give away the soul and true Qi realm. This world follows the order of stability and fairness. Body cultivators, true Qi cultivation, and soul cultivation cannot be at the same time. In that case, if you fight that kid, your sword Qi and sword intent must not attack his physical body. Ah! Naga! I understand now. Jida's eyes lit up as a feeling of enlightenment surged through his body. Naga, you've really woken me up from my daydream. Why should I care about his physical strength and defense? Just use your sword essence to attack his soul. My sword essence has long reached the great accomplishment stage, and my body has produced natal sword Qi. Natal sword Qi slashes through nothingness. It has the power of a soul attack. When I fight with that kid, I can directly attack his soul and kill him in an instant. After pausing for a while, Jida became even more confident. That kid is the same as you, Naga. His Jinchi cultivation is a mess. He is only at the expanding acupoint realm. Furthermore, he doesn't cultivate any superior Jinchi divine technique. He only focuses on body tempering. Yes, yes, yes. If Naga did not remind me, then when I fight with him, I will definitely use my strongest sword Qi to cut his body, and instead neglect to attack his soul. That kid only cultivates the body, while Naga, you walk the path of the soul and sword. Gid was very excited. Thank you for your pointers. But, come to think of it, Naga, what realm has your swordsmanship reached? Could it be that you have already opened the door to the sword world in the cracks of space? Ha 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 ha, opened the door to the sword world? This only exists in myths and legends. But don't try to guess the realm of my sword Tao. Naga smiled coldly, and then turned to leave. It is said that Naga once received pointers from a sword immortal, and obtained the teachings of a sword immortal. He is indeed invincible. Originally, I hoped that Naga and that kid would meet in the top 4. It would be a fierce battle, and both sides would be injured, allowing me to reap the benefits. But now it seems that Naga has found a way to deal with that kid. If that kid meets Naga, it is very likely that he will be killed in one strike. Could it be that I, Gid, will die in Naga's hands in the end? Gid looked at Naga's back, his expression desolate as he muttered to himself. I still underestimated Naga. Thus, just like Li Xiaotian, I had the mentality of getting lucky and entered the top 32. But Naga's strength is beyond my imagination. Xiaofan's wooden house. Xiaofan was using all his strength to break through the 21st finger technique. Once the 21st finger technique was completed, it was a new level of life. In terms of spiritual power, it was a qualitative leap. Simply put, the 21st finger technique and the 20th finger technique could not be mentioned in the same breath. They could not be mentioned in the same breath. There was a heavenly chasm between them. Hence, in terms of the difficulty of cultivation, the 21st spiritual finger technique definitely crushed the 20th spiritual finger technique. The 20th finger technique is made up of 100,000 complicated and profound hand gestures. However, the 21st finger technique is made up of 1,000,000 hand gestures. The more hand gestures there were to form each finger technique, it meant that to complete these hand gestures in one go, a large amount of spiritual power was needed. Insufficient foundation. Without enough accumulation, it was impossible to complete these hand gestures. When Xiaofan was cultivating the 21st finger technique, he finally encountered a bottleneck. He was stuck. The 21st finger technique, 1,000,000 hand gestures. At the 999,980th hand gesture, Xiaofan's accumulation of spiritual power in his sea of consciousness was completely used up. The countless psychedelic magic mirror fragments that he had accumulated in the psychedelic magic palace were all refined and absorbed, but in the end, he was still unable to complete the last 20 hand gestures of the 21st finger technique. Xiaofan tried many times, but all of them ended in failure. Every time, when he was trying to break through the 999,981 hand gestures, he would be completely unable to continue. His entire brain would suddenly go blank, and his head would hurt. It was as if there was a terrifying magical force that had sucked everything out of his brain in an instant. This feeling was extremely frightening. Phew, I failed again. The liquid spiritual power star in my sea of consciousness and the metal fragments were about to completely condense and form a solid body, but at the crucial moment, I always fail. Xiaofan weakly sat on the bed and gave up on trying. The last time I failed to break through the 20th finger technique, it was because my flesh shell foundation was insufficient. This time, I failed to break through the 21st finger technique, it was because my spiritual power foundation was completely used up. Xiaofan was extremely speechless. Difficult, too difficult. Cultivating this extinguishing heaven and earth spiritual power technique is too harsh. I must have both the spiritual power foundation and the flesh shell foundation at the same time. Now, I must once again accumulate a terrifying amount of spiritual power, only then can I complete the 21st finger technique. I'm too tired. After continuously trying to break through the 21st finger technique, not only did he not succeed, but it also caused Xiaofan to show signs of exhaustion and exhaustion. He had no choice but to give up on cultivating, and his eyelids were as heavy as lead. Dragging his tired body, Xiaofan arrived in front of the light screen and swept through it with his spiritual power. Oh no! There's less than 4 hours left before the battle of the top 4. Xiaofan's mind tensed up, and he immediately returned to the bed. I must seize the time, have a good rest, and adjust my condition. Otherwise, if I encounter a strong opponent in the battle of the top 4 a few hours later, I'm afraid it will be disadvantageous for me. Xiaofan quickly lay down, got rid of the distracting thoughts in his mind, and entered a deep sleep state. After an unknown period of time, the light screen in Xiaofan's wooden house shook, and Immortal Emperor Zhu Dao's voice came out. The most outstanding and the most amazing demon heroes, the battle of the top 4 that you have been waiting for a long time has begun. I believe that all of you are already prepared, right? Then. This emperor will not be long-winded. Prepare to randomly pick the top 4 battles and choose your opponents. Chapter 505. After 3 days of rest and reorganization, the exciting semi-finals had finally begun. Immortal Emperor Zhu Dao's voice came from the light screen in the wooden house. Xiaofan had forcefully cultivated the 21st spirit finger technique, causing his spirit power to be overdrawn, and he was extremely tired. After sleeping for a few hours, he gradually recovered and jumped to the front of the light screen. At this moment, on the light screen, there were only the images of 4 fiends, including Xiaofan. The last 4 people. Naga, and a brownish-red skinned sword cultivator, and a black fiend with a white cloth wrapped around his head. Xiaofan scanned with his spirit power and frowned slightly. Who will be my opponent this time? Suddenly, on the light screen, the images of the 4 fiends began to spin rapidly. It was so fast that even Xiaofan's spirit power could not keep up. Random pairing. Xiaofan stared at the light screen. Boom! Suddenly, the light screen shook. The images of the 4 fiends suddenly lined up one by one, matching each other in pairs. In an instant, it became a situation of 2 teams against each other. It was clear at a glance. In this cruel battle, there would only be 2 fiends left. Dear heroes, the battle of the top 4 has officially begun. Your opponents have been randomly selected. In 10 breaths of time, you will be teleported to the arena. The prize for the battle of the top 4 will be more than 40 billion immortal stones. It can be exchanged for at least 40 immortal cards to be used in the 2nd floor of this emperor's treasure. Let's cut the small talk, the battle begins. You will be transported to the arena. Good luck to everyone. The opponent had been selected. Xiaofan scanned with his spirit power and discovered that the opponent matched with him. On the light screen, Xiaofan's image was matched with the brownish-red skinned fiend man. Above his head, there was a golden misty sword light flashing. Jida. The brownish-red skinned fiend man. It was Jida, who was on good terms with Naga. On the light screen, Jida's image looked extremely fiend. The golden sword light above his head flickered and had a kind of aura that could slash through the void and sweep through the wilderness. It's this person. This person's previous battle scene. I have seen it many times. It is a sword cultivator. His sword Dao cultivation has reached a higher level and has reached the great accomplishment sword intent. He is an extremely difficult opponent. It should be compared to Li Xiaotian and the white-browed man. Even more troublesome. In this world, the martial artists with the strongest attack power should be sword cultivators and saber users. Xiaofan nodded slightly. Just then, in the light screen, a beam of divine light burst forth, and a vortex bloomed, directly pulling Xiaofan in. It was chaos in all directions. There was a square arena in the middle. Xiaofan stood quietly in the arena. Standing in front of Xiaofan was the devilish man with reddish-brown skin. Jida. Xiaofan remained calm and collected. He quietly observed his opponent. Although Xiaofan had an embryonic dual attribute immortal physique and had completed the 20th finger technique of the extinguishing heaven and earth mental art, his grand completion saber intent was even more condensed and glorious. Xiaofan would not let down his guard just because of this. None of the chivalrous heroes who could enter the top 4 were weak. The reddish-brown Jida also looked at Xiaofan with a sinister expression. Whoosh! Suddenly, from the top of Kid's head, a golden sword light soared into the sky. The golden light directly connected the sky, the clouds, the sky, and the earth, like a giant pillar supporting the sky. This sword light flickered. The dragon and the snake moved. Jida was wearing a red robe. His hands were empty, and he did not carry a sword on his back. However, his entire body was showing off. His aura coincided with the supreme way of the sword. Just by standing there casually, there was a feeling of tearing through the sky and cutting through all things. It was as if the aura from his body could even pierce through the crystal walls of space, explode and tear them apart, and turn all things into powder. In his eyes, there was also the supreme sword chi brewing and surging. 2 sword lights appeared in his eyes. It was earth-shattering, and it was extremely sharp. He must be an extraordinary person who had mastered the supreme sword way and the secret ancient sword techniques. His life experience must be legendary. When Xiaofan faced him, he could clearly feel that the aura on his body was indeed stronger than that of Li Xiaotian and the white-browed man. As soon as he saw Xiaofan, a golden sword chi shot out from his body. This meant that his battle intent had been aroused by Xiaofan. It's you. It really is you. Suddenly, Jida spoke. I have been paying attention to you. Oh? Xiaofan was stunned. You have been paying attention to me? Jida nodded slightly. He forcefully restrained the sharp sword chi that was about to burst out. He locked his aura on Xiaofan and said slowly, my good friend, Li Xiaotian, was also a peerless and fierce person. He had the great earth physique and was unparalleled in the world. However, he died in your hands. Oh, on the stage, the winner is the king, and the loser is the bandit. Li Xiaotian was defeated by me because he was not as skilled as me. Xiaofan smiled indifferently. For example, one of us will soon fall. You have indeed developed the temperament of a peerless expert. Jida nodded slightly. Kid, you are indeed worthy of my attention and research. In the beginning, your battle prowess wasn't even worth mentioning. At that time, if I had met you, I would have killed you like a pig or a dog. However, your improvement is too monstrous. In such a short period of time, you actually became an opponent that caught my attention. I have to say that you are unique. You must have had many fortuitous encounters and many secrets, but today, you have met me. This is the end of your journey. Your life will come to an end here. Oh? Xiaofan narrowed his eyes. You are dead. Jida said heavily. You will die under my sword. There is no doubt about it. At this moment, Jida's tone was filled with incomparable confidence. This was a state of mind and method that a sword cultivator must have. The path of a sword cultivator was to advance courageously and kill all enemies that stood in their way. Jida's spirit, chi, and spirit were highly condensed. It was as if he had reached the best state of his life. Naga's analysis of Xiaofan was beneficial to Jida. Because of Naga's guidance, Jida was able to find Xiaofan's weakness and fatal weakness. Thus, after the drawing of lots for the quarterfinals, Jida knew that his opponent was Xiaofan. He planted the belief that he would win in his heart. You are too confident. In the face of Jida's surging belief that he would win, Xiaofan didn't move, but he also started to speak with confidence and composure. It should be known that an ordinary person would easily collapse in the face of a supreme sword cultivator's confidence. This was because the attack power of a sword cultivator was known as the strongest and sharpest among martial artists. A sword cultivator's spirit was also extremely condensed. When a sword shio exerted mental pressure on the opponent and displayed the belief that he would win, the invisible sword essence that could cut through the void could easily penetrate and destroy the opponent's mental defenses, subduing the enemy without a fight. However, Xiaofan's willpower. What kind of perseverance was that? The liquid spirit star in his sea of consciousness was already infinitely close to solidifying. Thus, Xiaofan was not moved at all. Before this, every single opponent I faced looked down on me. They were very disdainful towards me. But I'm sorry, their final outcome was extremely tragic. They all died in my hands. I think today will be no exception. You will become a stepping stone for me to enter the finals. Strong confidence, confidence that did not lose to Jida, also came from Xiaofan's body. A violent aura rose. All of a sudden, Xiaofan's veins, bones, and blood surged. The earth physique gene and the thunder attribute gene in his body started to burn. Unknowingly, Xiaofan started to activate his aura, the embryonic form of the thunder god tyrant body and the embryonic form of the starry sky sovereign body. They complemented each other and brought out the best in each other. On Xiaofan's body, there was a strong battle intent. His confidence in victory surged out like floodwaters. His body seemed to grow taller and taller, until he looked like a giant from ancient times, like a god descending into the mortal world. His power continued to rise, and as he circulated his power, a sound like that of an army of thousands upon thousands of men and horses galloping forward, charging forward, trampling everything in its path. There was even the sound of thunder and lightning that seemed to destroy the world. Xiaofan's aura was also overwhelming. In an instant, it formed a situation where it was equal to Jida's ancient supreme sword intent. The two powerhouses had not yet clashed, but each of them activated their own auras to resist each other, creating an atmosphere of turbulence. This caused this battle to be filled with suspense and excitement even before it officially began. Not bad. The muscles at the corner of Jida's eyes twitched a few times. I can see that you're not even 100 years old, but you've already cultivated the aura of a true powerhouse. Good, good. If you did not meet me today, you would definitely rise in the future. It is not impossible for you to become an immortal, but you will die by my sword today. After a pause, Jida's eyes burned with a crazed look. Sword intent and saber intent specialize in breaking all kinds of special constitutions. Kid, you have no chance of winning today. Just as the fierce battle between Xiaofan and Jida was about to erupt, in another battle of the top four, Naga had already defeated his tyrannical opponent with one strike and became the first heavenly son of heaven to enter the finals. Naga's battle was always so calm. It was as if no opponent could escape from Naga's sword after meeting him. At this moment, Naga had returned to his wooden house and was watching the battle between Xiaofan and Gid with great interest through the screen. Jida is too useless. Facing a barbarian who only knows how to refine his body, he can't even finish the battle quickly. How weak. However, if there are no accidents, Jida will kill that kid and meet me in the finals. Naga smiled indifferently. It's a pity that I told Jida about this kid's weakness. Otherwise, it is very likely that this kid will meet me in the finals. But, it doesn't matter. To me, no matter who the opponent is, it's just a routine battle. Apart from Naga, every monster warrior who was watching the battle had their attention firmly focused on the battle between Xiaofan and Jida. The atmosphere before the battle had already made it clear that this was a real battle between the strong. In the vast and endless universe, it was a collision between the strongest peerless geniuses under 10,000 years old. If it was not for the treasure of immortal Emperor Zhu Dao, such a peak battle would not happen even once in a billion years. The monster warriors who were watching the battle all held their breath. Both of them are gathering their auras. At this moment, their auras have been brewed to the peak limit. They are going to fight. They are going to fight soon. Once they fight, it will be earth-shattering. A world-shaking battle. To be continued. Chapter 506. At this moment, Xiao Mingchu, Luo Tianyu, and the others from Xiaofan's camp were so nervous that they were about to collapse. They could feel the aura of Xiaofan and Jida from the light screen. They also understood that Jida was the strongest opponent Xiaofan had encountered in the Immortal Stone competition until now. An extraordinary sword cultivator. Junior brother Xiaofan's opponent in the top four is a peerless sword cultivator. In the realm of cultivators, the ones with the strongest offensive power are sword cultivators and bladesmen. This sword cultivator's sword intent is divine, he is extremely difficult to deal with. At this moment, all Xiao Mingchu could do was pray for Xiaofan. Junior brother Xiaofan is actually a swordsman who has reached a higher level. However, after entering the genius zone, he gave up on his saber intent and focused on his body. It seems that junior brother Xiaofan's greatest trump card is the strength of his body and his special physique. His saber intent can't be easily displayed, otherwise, he will be directly suppressed by his opponent's sword intent. He will immediately be in a passive situation. On the arena, a storm was coming. Xiaofan and Jida's battle intent, spirit, vitality, and aura, were indeed at their peak. The two of them could unleash a fatal blow at any time. At this moment, Jida could feel that Xiaofan had activated his dual attribute physique to the extreme. His body was surrounded by lightning and thunder. The earth was thick and the earth was so oppressive that the space in all directions was distorted and the air was destroyed. At that moment, Jida became even more fearless. His entire being was relaxed and filled with a carefree aura. He took a deep breath. What a powerful physique. A guy with a special physique is really extraordinary. However, as Naga said, the stronger your physique is, the easier it is for me to defeat you. This is a battle. I will control it. This battle, I'll be the master. Then, let's see what you have. Ice and Fire Universe Divine Sword. Suddenly, Jida took the initiative to attack. Boom! Around Jida, sword light burst out. The sword chi broke the void. At this moment, his body was like a sharp sword. In a breath's time, the spatial crystal wall was cut open like tofu. He instantly displayed the essence of the supreme sword Tao. Fuse with the sword, fuse with the way, fuse with the way, fuse with the heaven, fuse with the heaven. Suddenly, ancient sword chi burst out from his body, and two swords that were formed from true chi and sword chi flew out of his body. Boundless radiance. These two treasured swords. One was of the ice attribute, the other was of the raging fire attribute. The two swords combined to attack each other. Like two swimming dragons, they danced in the air. With a flash, they formed an ice-fire taiji sword formation. Subtle and profound, transcendent and saintly. The densely packed sword patterns revolved. Ice and fire tai chi, the twin swords combined and blasted towards Xiaofan. In an instant, the entire arena erupted with lava, snowflakes filled the sky, and sword chi was oppressive. Jida's aura was like that of an invincible swordsman or a grandmaster of the sword Tao. He stood proudly in the cold snow, at the peak of a volcano. He was proud, emotionless, lonely, and cold. He drew his sword and looked around. He was the only one who could seek defeat. He could not find an opponent. Moreover, Jida's Ice-Fire Cosmos Divine Sword formation not only contained the two extreme powers of ice and fire, but it also displayed the profound mysteries of swordsmanship to the fullest. The Ice-Fire Cosmos Divine Sword formation was ever-changing. In the blink of an eye, it displayed thousands of supreme swordsmanship techniques that could only be encountered but not sought. It was unpredictable. Hack, slash, slice, press, wash, stab, pick, drill, spin, all sorts of wondrous swordsmanship techniques were displayed. Jida's first move was an ultimate killing technique. He had unleashed the pinnacle of swordsmanship. The Ice-Fire Cosmos Divine Sword formation blotted out the sky and covered Xiaofan. The true chi vortex continuously expanded, contracted, and changed. It stirred up the airflow and distorted the light. It exploded with destructive power that could destroy everything. How good is Naga's eyesight? He pointed out this kid's weakness with one sentence. Now, when I meet him, my confidence in defeating him continues to rise. Now, I will first use my ultimate swordsmanship to attack his physical body. If I can break through it, then I don't need to waste my mental strength to attack his soul. If I can't break through his defense, then I will use the method that Naga taught me. I will use the Great Accomplishment Stage's natal sword Qi to pierce through his soul and kill him instantly. Ji controlled the battle. However, he did not attack Xiaohan's soul right from the start. This was because to attack Xiaohan's soul, he needed to use the Great Accomplishment Stage's natal sword Qi and a specialized soul attack sword technique. This would also consume a lot of energy for Ji. Ji had to strive to kill Xiaohan with the least amount of effort. Then, in the finals, he would face Naga in his best condition and fight to the death. Heh! The power of this swordsmanship can't even break through my defense. Xiaohan was fearless in the face of Ji's ultimate swordsmanship. Roar! Suddenly, Xiaohan roared and his body began to expand. His entire body shone with a dazzling earthy yellow light. His body began to grow taller. In a breath's time, he had grown to more than 200 feet. His aura was like that of a god descending to the mortal world. On the surface of Xiaohan's skin, a pale yellow earth armor condensed. Clang! 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 In the blink of an eye, Ji's ice and fire cosmos Tai Chi sword formation had already enveloped Xiaohan. Hundreds of millions of meteor-like sword lights directly pierced Xiaohan's huge body. Countless extremely cold, extremely hot, and Gengjin sword Qi burst out, circling and strangling. It presented the most mysterious arc of swordsmanship, cutting a large area of Xiaohan. Every sword had the power to pierce through the void and cut through all living things. On Xiaohan's earthy yellow skin, dense sparks burst out. There were thunder and lightning flashing in between, and there was also the golden glow of the indestructible golden body surging. The scene was so dazzling that it was impossible to know the situation of the battle immediately. In Xiao Mingchu's wooden house. Xiao Mingchu, who was staring at the light screen, felt as though his heart was about to be crushed. The power of this sword is enough to destroy the world. Can junior brother Xiaohan block it? Can junior brother Xiaohan block it? The other chivalrous spirits who were watching the battle also made their own assessments. This is a battle between a shield and a spear. A battle between a sword and a body. The defense of the earth physique is indeed unique and impregnable. However, I don't know if it can block Ji's storm-like sword Qi attacks. In Naga's wooden house. Naga sat cross-legged on the couch, a faint smile on his face. This Ji has underestimated that kid's defense. He had underestimated that brat's defense too much. With the special physique of the earth, it was absolutely not a problem for him to withstand his sword Qi attack. He can only use soul attacks. Only then can he defeat that kid. In the arena. Amidst the countless destructive sword lights. Impressively, a giant hand covered the sky. It was grabbed out. His 5 fingers were filled with lightning, and all of them were ancient behemoths. The roar of a divine beast from the heaven realm. Absolute power surged out. This was not an ordinary power. It was mixed with the tearing and destructive power of the heaven realm's thunder and lightning. The stability of the starry sky earth was absolutely invincible. Unparalleled power that transcended the mortal world. Pucci, all the sword lights were destroyed by the grab. All the principles of swordsmanship were shattered. Amidst the shattered sword lights, Xiaohan took a step forward. The earthy yellow armor on his body was sliced into countless hair-thin cracks, but it wasn't damaged at all. As the golden light of the indestructible golden body washed over it, the cracks on the earthy yellow armor quickly healed. Ji's killing blow could not break through Xiaohan's defense at all. The tyrannical earth physique, coupled with the great perfection realm and the indestructible golden body's healing ability, allowed Xiaohan to easily block Ji's attack. Is that all you can do? Xiaohan walked towards Ji step by step. With every step he took, Xiaohan's aura increased by a notch. Too weak. Xiaofan let out a ferocious roar as he threw a punch at Jida. A force of 5 trillion cauldrons was unleashed as he launched his counterattack. The power of this punch violently vibrated, and circles of ripples radiated from the center of the fist. In an instant, the space in the arena shattered like tiles. There were also lightning bolts that looked like dragons and snakes flying and biting. He's too strong. Jida's sword was actually blocked by that kid. That's too easy. Moreover, that kid immediately launched a fierce counterattack. Jida's attack is all bark and no bite. He can't even break his opponent's defense. In terms of attack power, Jida's sword can actually penetrate everything. However, his opponent's defense is too abnormal. He has a special physique. This is what a special physique is like. It seems like Jida is going to be defeated. I didn't expect this kid to be able to defeat Jida, a sword cultivator who has inherited the ancient sword Dao. He is the dark horse of this celestial stone competition. In fact, the reason why Xiaofan could perfectly block Jida's heaven-defying sword was because he had consumed too many immortal pills. His physical defense could be said to be perfect in the entire human realm. If it was Li Xiaotian, even if he could block this sword, he would definitely be injured. Sword Qi Barrier. In the face of Xiaofan's desperate counterattack, Jida did not panic too much. He also roared, and layers of sword aura shot out from every pore of his body, forming a barrier. Puqi, Xiaofan's punch landed on Jida's sword Qi barrier, shattering it into pieces. However, Jida had already used the sword Qi barrier to block. His body turned into a stream of light and dodged the attack. While attacking and defending alternated, Xiaofan had the upper hand while Jida was in a difficult situation. However, Jida's expression was still fearless. His body was suspended in the void of the arena. His aura was disdainful in all directions as if he was the king of the world. Forget it. I should have used the method that Naga taught me earlier. Kid, my sword Qi is still unable to break through your defense. If not for Naga's reminder, you would have had the upper hand in the attack and defense just now. Then, I would have definitely panicked and lost my composure. It is very likely that I would have been defeated by you. However, before this battle, Naga told me all your weaknesses, so I have 2 plans when facing you. The first plan is completely ineffective against you. Then, I will use the second plan. This time, you will definitely die. Heh, the second plan. Xiaofan laughed involuntarily. Many of the heroes who were watching the battle in front of the light screen also heard Jida's words. What? Jida has a second plan? However, he has already used all his strength in that sword strike just now. He has displayed his ultimate attack power. What second plan does he have? That's right. In the face of absolute power, swordsmanship techniques are useless. Wait. I think I have guessed the second plan that Jida mentioned. In the arena. Die. Great accomplishment stage natal sword Qi. Infinite shadow sword. Xiao xiao xiao. Suddenly, the golden sword light floating above Jida's head split into 2, 2 into 4, 4 into 8. The golden sword light that filled the sky was like a swarm of locusts, strangling Xiaofan. Every strand of sword light seemed to be extremely tiny, and did not possess any particularly powerful offensive power. In fact, they were soundless and traceless. However, Xiaofan suddenly felt that each sword light seemed to avoid his physical defense and strangled his soul. Pooh pooh pooh, it seemed that each sword light was forcibly pulling Xiaofan's soul. The other heroes who were watching the battle in front of the light screen, what kind of move is this? The power of this wave of attack seems to be far inferior to the previous sword strike. Such a weak attack, it is impossible to defeat that kid, right? Why is Jida still so confident? No. This is not a physical attack. This is a soul attack. A sword cultivator's essence, spirit, soul, and natal sword chi evolved into a sword light and directly pierced the opponent's soul, crushing the opponent's soul. Ah! Too powerful. I can't believe that Jida still found a way to defeat people with special physiques. Yes, yes, yes. We have all forgotten that the sword intent of the great accomplishment stage can kill nothingness. As for people with special physiques, their bodies are as strong as the abyss, but their souls are definitely weak. Jida is going to turn defeat into victory. That kid will definitely not be able to block a soul attack. Chapter 507. At this very moment, the battle between Xiaofan and Jida in the top 4 was in full swing in the arena. Two powerful experts were about to meet. One had to die, and the other had to survive. Only then could they advance to the finals. It was extremely cruel. One was a peerless abnormal young man with an embryonic dual attribute immortal physique. His physical defense was invincible and impenetrable. The other was a peerless sword cultivator who had obtained the secret inheritance of the ancient Tao of Sword. His great accomplishment sword intent could sweep through everything. However, in this peak battle, Xiaofan had an overwhelming advantage. Jida's peerless sword Tao could not penetrate Xiaofan's defense at all. At the critical moment, Gid, who had received Naga's instructions and was given strict instructions, finally used the killing move that was deemed to be enough to kill Xiaofan. Soul attack. Using the great accomplishment sword intent and natal sword chi as the foundation, using mental strength and soul as the driving force, he displayed a sword technique that specialized in attacking the soul. In the blink of an eye, the arena was densely covered with sword chi that was as thin as gossamer rain. The sword chi was very gentle, and did not display any offensive power. It was very dense, and every strand of golden sword chi was engraved with psychic patterns. As they weaved through the air, they emitted a depraved sound, and like a swarm of locusts, they completely enveloped Xiaofan. Kid! It's over. I have found your weakness. Fatal weakness. Jida was like a monarch who had everything in his grasp. He looked at Xiaofan with disdain. He had completely crushed him. Indeed, this is a tough battle. You are outstanding enough. In terms of body refinement, I'm afraid that in the countless ordinary planes of the universe, among all living beings under 10,000 years old, you are invincible. You are invincible. You are as tyrannical as an ancient beast. His body moved, stirring up trouble. However, you also have a fatal weakness. That is, your soul. You have such a majestic body, but your soul must be very weak. It is almost impossible to have both the soul and the body at the same time. My spring silkworm drizzle's soul-wounding sword chi specializes in attacking the opponent's soul. It is all-pervasive. Everything is over. Jida was very satisfied. However, as he spoke, his complexion became increasingly pale. It was clear that he had overexerted himself. That's right. Every strand of golden sword chi that filled the arena was imbued with Jida's essence, energy, spirit, and soul power. All of them were released at once to attack Xiaofan. It also caused his vitality to be greatly damaged. Generally speaking, when a sword cultivator faced an enemy, they would not be able to use their full strength. After all, the risk was too great. Once the opponent's spiritual energy was stable, not only would the spiritual energy sword chi not be taken advantage of, but it would also backfire on the sword cultivator. However, Jida had been forced into a corner by Xiaofan. He only had one move left. Otherwise, he would be beaten to death by Xiaofan on the stage. However, Jida was extremely confident that Xiaofan would definitely die under this move. There was no way he could turn the tables around. Xiaofan did not move at all. At this moment, the golden sword chi that filled the sky had already completely wrapped around Xiaofan, causing him to look as if he had been wrapped in a golden cocoon. These golden sword chi contained a strong spiritual energy fluctuation. They emitted a deep and dignified Buddhist chant. It was like an elegy at dusk, heart-wrenching. Every strand of golden sword chi had the power to absorb the opponent's soul, causing the opponent's soul to cave in and collapse. Boom boom boom, within Xiaofan's body, the power was still circulating. The aura of the earth was erupting. There were also thunder and lightning dragons dancing in the air. The golden rays of the indestructible golden body were also gushing out. It was as if he was trying his best to use his physical strength to resist the endless golden sword chi. However, it was completely useless. The golden sword chi was like a silent drizzle. It did not seem to have any physical attack power. It gently seeped into Xiaofan's skin. Then, it followed Xiaofan's blood vessels and entered Xiaofan's sea of consciousness. There was even a large amount of golden sword chi that directly entered Xiaofan's brain. It went straight into Xiaofan's sea of consciousness. Xiao 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 xiao, in an instant, countless golden sword chi swarmed into Xiaofan's sea of consciousness. On the contrary, it was completely harmless to Xiaofan's body. Ha 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 ha. You still want to use your physical strength to resist it? Jida, whose face was as white as paper, saw with his own eyes that his soul sword chi had completely entered Xiaofan's sea of consciousness. He finally let out a long sigh of relief. I have won this battle. All of my soul sword chi has already successfully entered your sea of consciousness. Your sea of consciousness has no defensive ability at all. It's like an empty shell, so my soul sword chi can enter without any obstruction. In the next moment, with a single thought of mine, thousands of soul sword chi will mince your sea of consciousness into powder. As he spoke, Jida's hands formed a sword sign. At the same time, Xiaofan's entire brain began to swell and squirm. Above Xiaofan's head, there was a terrifying illusion of thousands of swords descending. Ha 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 ha. With just a thought, your head will explode and you will die. Jida was getting more and more proud. Xiaofan did not move. The expression on his face was slightly strange. Inside Xiao Mingchu's wooden house, oh no. Junior brother Xiaofan is in a bad situation. Xiao Mingchu witnessed the reversal of the battle and his face turned pale with fright. Originally, junior brother Xiaofan had the absolute advantage. It was very likely that he would be able to decide the outcome of this battle in an instant. However, the battle was full of ups and downs. At the last moment, this Jida actually used a soul sword chi attack. Junior brother Xiaofan seems to be too careless. This Jida is an outstanding sword cultivator. His sword intent has reached the great success stage. His soul and mental strength are naturally tyrannical. However, junior brother Xiaofan is also an extraordinary swordsman. He also has the great success stage saber intent. Furthermore, in the illusory Devil Palace, he displayed a terrifying mental strength. Logically speaking, even if Jida used his soul sword chi, junior brother Xiaohan should be able to block it with all his strength. However, from the looks of it now, junior brother Xiaohan did not make an effective defense at the first moment. It was as if he opened the door to the thief and allowed Jida's life sword chi to enter his soul. Too reckless. Junior brother Xiaohan is too reckless. How could he do this? For a heaven-defying sword cultivator like Jida to casually send a wisp of sword chi into his sea of consciousness. It could cause great damage. Sea of consciousness. Soul. These are all very fragile. Such a round of soul attack, even if it does not kill junior brother Xiaohan, it will definitely injure junior brother Xiaohan's soul and cause him to go crazy on the spot. At the same time, the other evil heroes who were watching the battle also expressed their opinions on the battle at the first moment. It's over. This battle is about to end. It's going to end soon. The sword chi that specializes in attacking the soul is already very difficult to resist. That kid actually allowed countless soul sword chi to enter his soul. In just a moment, his sea of consciousness will definitely shatter and he will die. He really has all brawn and no brains. Indeed, if his physical body is too strong, his brain will not work well. He still wants to use his physical strength to resist the soul sword chi. Is there such an idiotic person? The soul is the weakest part of the human body. Jida is such a powerful sword cultivator. Even if it's just a little bit, once it enters the opponent's soul, the opponent will immediately be crippled. Not to mention the huge amount of soul sword chi that entered this kid's brain. Even if this kid has a backup plan and doesn't die on the spot, he will definitely become an idiot after such a torment. Jida is still one step ahead. In terms of intelligence, he completely beats that body refinement kid. At the crucial moment, he turned defeat into victory. He grasped that kid's weakness. He turned defeat into victory and completed a complete reversal. Between life and death, he turned defeat into victory in a breath's time. This will definitely sharpen Jida's temperament and cause Jida to undergo a transformation. In terms of sword Dao, he will definitely advance bravely. This way, in the finals, when facing Naga, who is even more powerful and terrifying than himself, Jida might be able to create a miracle. Now, we can start looking forward to the pinnacle battle between Jida and Naga in the finals, inside Naga's wooden house. If I had used this move earlier, I would have won in an instant. Why go through so much trouble? What a fool! Naga shook his head in disappointment. Naga, really can't find an opponent. I originally thought that this body refinement kid could bring me surprises and excitement, but he was too stupid. He allowed Jida's soul attack to enter his sea of consciousness. Who does he think he is? With so much sword chi swarming into his brain, even a great principal golden immortal can't save him. Looks like I've overestimated this idiot. He's far from being a match for me, Naga. As for Jida, he is also a fool, on the stage. At this moment, Xiaofan did not make any movements. His expression was very strange. And inside Xiaofan's sea of consciousness, Xiao, dense golden sword chi gathered inside Xiaofan's sea of consciousness like a swarm of locusts. Every strand of golden sword chi contained Jida's soul force. They were extremely sharp and could explode at any time. However, Xiaofan's mental energy had already condensed into a star. On the surface, there was a layer of dark gold that was engraved with terrifying spirit patterns. At this moment, Xiaofan's mental power star was completely unaffected by the countless golden sword chi that Jida had sent into Xiaofan's sea of consciousness. Xiaofan's mental power star was still very stable. There was not the slightest bit of disorder or fluctuation. So many soul sword chi attacking my sea of consciousness. These soul sword chi are actually like the hallucinatory demonic territory that I encountered before. My extinguishing heaven and earth mental technique can perfectly refine these soul sword chi. Ha 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 ha. Suddenly, in the depths of Xiaofan's heart, a burst of wild laughter burst forth. This daddy cultivates the extinguishing heaven and earth mental technique, the 21st spirit finger technique. I want to solidify my mental energy, but I am still a step away from perfection. The reason is that my own mental energy accumulation has been exhausted. My mental energy foundation is insufficient. And now, this idiot Jida actually directly transformed his soul force into sword chi and sent it into my sea of consciousness. This is no different from providing me with nourishment. Ha 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 ha. As long as I completely refine these soul sword chi, I can possibly break through the shackles and complete the last 20 hand seals of the 21st spirit finger technique. Then, my soul will directly soar, my mental energy will explosively increase, and my mental power will solidify. Ha ha ha. The heavens are helping me. The heavens are really helping me. I didn't expect to encounter such an idiot. At this moment, I won't waste any more time. Then, everything is over. Jide looked at Xiaofan indifferently. Then, he pointed his sword chi at Xiaofan. Explode for me. All the soul sword chi. Directly explode. Explode for me. To be continued. Chapter 508. Jide finally triggered his killing intent. He wanted to kill Xiaofan in one go. His face showed a fierce and savage expression. At the same time, he displayed the attitude of a victor. His words and laughter turned into ashes. He formed a sword seal with both hands. With a single thought, he directly communicated with the sword chi that had entered Xiaofan's soul and exploded. Just like that, thousands of golden sword chi, under Jide's control, were about to explode in Xiaofan's sea of consciousness. This kind of explosive force could almost destroy a planet. It could destroy a mountain range. Even if it was a powerful tower master, if they dared to recklessly let so many soul sword chi into their sea of consciousness, Jide would definitely destroy their soul with a single thought. Barbarian, die. Following Jide's hoarse roar, there was a sudden burst of rolling thunder in Xiaofan's brain. Boom! 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 A terrifying, earth-shattering, tsunami-like fluctuation and earth-shattering natural disaster erupted from Xiaofan's brain. It directly shook the surrounding space of the arena, causing it to shatter. Such a powerful explosive force acted on the brain. His soul would definitely be shattered. In Xiao Mingchu's wooden house. The light screen shook violently. Rumble. It's over. This terrifying explosion completely acted on junior brother Xiaofan's brain. Xiao Mingchu's face was ashen as he sat on the ground. Some of the other evil heroes who were watching the battle had a frightened expression on their faces. He died so tragically. His soul was blown into pieces, at this moment, Xiaofan, in Xiaofan's sea of consciousness. Densely packed golden sword chi. As expected, they all exploded together. They turned into countless sword chi and soul fragments, crazily bombarding Xiaofan's spiritual power planet. However, the mind power planet only wiggled a little, yet it easily neutralized these terrifying explosions. As for Xiaofan, it did not cause any harm at all. After Xiaofan completed the 20th spiritual finger seal, the surface of the spiritual power planet had actually solidified. The surface of the spiritual power planet had already solidified. However, the interior of the spiritual power planet was still a viscous liquid, with countless metal fragments floating around. Xiaofan's spiritual energy star was solid enough. This series of explosions didn't even leave a shallow mark on Xiaofan's spiritual power planet. Heh! This Jide's soul spirit and mental strength are nothing compared to mine. I casually let his sword chi explode in my soul spirit. It doesn't hurt me at all. It just makes my brain. It's just a little swollen. Xiaofan laughed involuntarily. Ha 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 ha. It was over. My top 4 battle is finally over. I've also defeated a prodigy and turned defeat into victory. This is also a form of training for my mind. When I go back, my swordsmanship will definitely improve by leaps and bounds. Jide put his hands behind his back and was full of smiles. However, at this moment, he realized that not only was Xiaofan's soul not destroyed, his face was calm and his eyes were full of vitality. What's going on? Suddenly, Jide's eyes bulged out as he stared at Xiaofan. His eyes looked like they were about to fall out of their sockets. Impossible. Such a fierce soul spirit attack, no mortal or pagoda master would be able to withstand it. What's going on? Jide was shocked to the core. What an idiot. Xiaofan curled his lips in disdain. He took a step forward and slowly walked towards Jida. You trash. You're a complete trash. How could a piece of trash like you possibly harm me with your lowly, insignificant tricks? You're too childish. I can't believe that after cultivating for so many years, your mind is still so childish. Impossible. Jida let out a heart-wrenching scream. Then, both of his hands formed a sword art and pointed at Xiaohan's head. Soul Spirit Sword Qi. Explode again. Explode. 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 Boom. 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 The golden sword light that densely covered Xiaohan's sea of consciousness was controlled by Jida's mind. Once again, it went on a rampage and exploded violently, bombarding Xiaohan's spiritual power planet. But it was to no avail. This level of soul spirit attack could not cause any harm to Xiaohan's soul. Xiaohan moved his neck and let out a sinister smile. He walked towards Jida step by step. He walked extremely slowly, but every step seemed to step on Jida's heart. This caused Jida to panic and his mind to be on the verge of collapse. At the same time, in every wooden house that was watching the battle, there was a deathly silence. The expressions on the faces of every chivalrous hero watching the battle were completely stiff. Their thoughts had completely stopped. They were going crazy. None of the spectators dared to accept what was happening on the light screen. He allowed such terrifying and dense sword chi to attack his soul and then explode one after another, causing the most direct damage to his soul. Yet, he was completely fine. Once these sword chi exploded, it could easily destroy a worldly kingdom. How could a mortal soul be harder than a worldly kingdom? But the truth was that Xiaohan was calm and composed. He was completely unharmed. This guy, was he still human? Naga's wooden house. What was happening on the light screen was completely out of Naga's expectations. Naga was finally moved. That arrogant, unruly, and indifferent expression of his all year long had finally revealed a look of shock. He rushed to the front of the light screen, his pupils constricting as he looked at Xiaohan. Even this didn't kill him. Not only did it not kill him, it didn't even cause him any harm. This is such a terrifying soul, such powerful mental strength. He paused for a moment, ha 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 ha. Wahahaha. I, Naga, have finally found an opponent worthy of the sword in my hand. Ha 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 ha. Dual attribute special physique, invincible body. Coupled with such terrifying mental strength, amazing. Enough to be my opponent. Enough to make me, Naga, serious. Ha ha ha. Defeat such an opponent. My Naga's nature will be honed. Finally, an opponent of this level. Jida, you look like an ant now. Very quickly, Naga's solemn expression relaxed. He revealed a pleasing smile, and his entire person seemed very happy. He was ready to make a move. Deep in his eye sockets, a never-before-seen berserk battle intent blossomed. On the stage, Jida was hysterical. He continuously activated the soul sword chi, detonating it in Xiaohan's sea of consciousness. However, Xiaohan did not care at all, and walked towards Jida leisurely. What's going on? What kind of pervert is this? Not human. Kid, you are not human. Jida was in a daze. Suddenly, Jida closed his eyes and sensed with his soul. His soul began to sense the released soul sword chi. Xiaohan did not interrupt him, and allowed him to sense. Finally, Jida saw it. He saw Xiaohan's sea of consciousness. In Xiaohan's sea of consciousness, there was a huge dark golden planet. On the surface of the planet, there were spirit patterns carved on it. It emitted a domineering spirit wave that caused people's hearts to palpitate. Ah! His mental strength has already condensed into a planet. Jida subconsciously formed a sword seal, his face ashen. Soul Sword Chi. Come back. Jida wanted to retract the Soul Sword Chi that had entered Xiaohan's sea of consciousness. However, ha 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 ha. Xiaohan's hands formed a few hand seals. Boom boom boom, suddenly, the spirit power planet in Xiaohan's sea of consciousness moved a little, and it actually absorbed all the Soul Sword Chi that Jida had released. Then, the spirit power planet was like a furnace, and it began to refine these golden sword lights. It refined all of Jida's soul power on these golden sword lights, turning them into nourishment for Xiaohan's mental strength, which was then absorbed by the spirit power planet. Ah! Suddenly, Jida let out a blood-curdling scream like a pig being slaughtered. His soul was twitching in pain. Most of his soul power was attached to the sword Qi to kill Xiaohan. But now, this soul power was being forcefully refined by Xiaohan, causing Jida to be unable to retract it. This way, 90% of Jida's soul power was being refined by Xiaohan. Ah! Miserable! Miserable! I, Jida, was a hero, an invincible genius, and a shocking talent. But in the end, even my soul was devoured by the enemy. Ah! Jida could not bear the pain of his soul and actually fell to the ground. He kept hugging his head and rolling, twitching, foaming at the mouth, and rolling his eyes. Nourishing. This soul sword Qi is indeed nourishing. Xiaohan, on the other hand, had obtained an unparalleled benefit. How strong was the soul of a sword cultivator with great accomplishment sword intent. Now, 90% of his soul had become Xiaohan's nourishment. How impressive was this? Now, Xiaohan's mental strength was rising steadily. Forget it. You can be considered as helping my cultivation. I will give you a quick death. As he spoke, Xiaohan used his divine strength and pressed his finger. Pfft! Jida was directly pressed into powder. The top 4 battle has ended. Xiaohan raised his head slightly. The final battle against the Nagas, at this moment, congratulations, Junior. You are strong enough to fight your way into the finals. You have also obtained a huge amount of immortal stones as a reward, as well as all the immortal stones in the pouch of the opponent you defeated. Immortal Emperor Zhu Dao's voice reverberated in the arena. A dense amount of immortal stones were inserted into the light yellow pouch above Xiaohan's head. Then, a spatial whirlpool appeared and wrapped around Xiaohan. It was about to transport him out of the arena. Suddenly, Xiaohan raised his head and looked at the sky. The corner of his mouth drew a faint smile as he murmured. Nagas, let's fight in the finals. Inside Nagas' wooden house. Nagas looked at Xiaohan's face on the screen. He seemed to feel Xiaohan's declaration of war. In Nagas' eyes, the battle intent had also reached its peak. There is a feeling of an old enemy. It seems that I will have to face this tribulation in the unseen world. Let's fight. If I can overcome this tribulation, my achievements will be limitless. Kid, your appearance is the perfect foundation for my Naga's rise to power in this starry sky. Let's fight. Finals. To be continued. Chapter 509. In the Battle of the Top 4, Xiaohan used an extremely shocking and eye-popping method to defeat the amazing sword cultivator, Kid. Xiaohan's body could ignore Kid's swordsmanship and sword aura attacks. What was even more insane was that Xiaohan could even let Kid's soul sword aura explode in his sea of consciousness and soul, allowing these destructive soul sword auras to explode in his sea of consciousness. Surprisingly, he was fine. In the end, he easily killed Kid with a finger. In fact, this battle of the top 4, which had ups and downs, looked like a battle between a strong man and a child in the end. The gap between the two was so big that it could not be measured. It was like a firefly competing with the bright moon in the starry sky. After the battle ended, a large number of chivalrous heroes rushed out of the wooden houses and gathered in the garden area in twos and threes, discussing, "I didn't expect this. I never thought that Kid would be so defeated. Kid, it feels really weak, wrong. Actually, Kid is not weak." Every chivalrous hero who could participate in the battle of the top 32 was an amazing person. Kid could rely on his peerless swordsmanship to overcome all difficulties and finally enter the top 4. He was definitely an outstanding talent under 10,000 years old in the billions of ordinary planes in this starry sky. Killing people above his level was as easy as eating and drinking for him. We have seen Kid's battle scenes before. He does have amazing swordsmanship and ultimate skills. He is not someone with an undeserved reputation. His defeat was not because he was weak, but his opponent was too strong. So strong that it defied the natural order. Monster. That Kid is really a monster. His physical strength can move the earth and move the sky. He has the power to tear a planet with his bare hands. That's not all. But I never thought that his soul and mental strength were also so monstrous. You all saw it. That Kid was completely unguarded and let Kid attack his soul. But Kid's explosion of 10,000 swords did not shake his soul. This is too terrifying. What kind of soul is this? It's so strong that it's a mess. Body and soul refinement. Both are very strong. Now, Naga is really in trouble. It's time to discuss the final between Naga and that Kid. A battle of the pinnacle. In the truest sense of the word, this was a battle of the pinnacle. Among the younger generation of countless ordinary planes, Naga and that Kid were second to none. They ruled the world, and no one could match them. Both of them were geniuses with immortal ascended qualities. Even immortals wouldn't be able to resist watching this battle, right? Ha ha ha. We are just mortals. In his lifetime, he would be able to witness a battle of this level with his own eyes. My life is not in vain. Now it's hard to say if the Nagas will win. If that Kid only had the body refining technique, then Naga could easily beat him. But the problem now was that the Kid's soul and mental strength were even stronger than Naga's. This was a situation where they were evenly matched. No. In fact, that Kid's combat power is slightly higher than Naga's. Ha ha ha. How ignorant. A middle-aged man with scales on his forehead, a scarlet mark on his forehead, and a mysterious mark on his neck took a step forward. His aura suppressed the starry sky and encompassed the entire universe. He was also a top-notch expert. The Nagas will win. Oh. A large group of geniuses who were in a heated discussion all looked over. Why do you say that? One of the geniuses asked in an unconvinced tone. Physical strength is completely useless in a battle with Naga, the scaled man said coldly. Even so, it's not just his physical body that's strong. His soul is even stronger than his physical body. His soul is strong, but so what? The scaled man said with extreme disdain. His soul is strong, but he has almost no way of using soul power. A method to use soul power? That Kid did not actively use his soul power during his battle with Jida. Why is that? Because he does not know any soul attack techniques. It was Jida who took the initiative to throw his soul sword chi into that Kid's sea of consciousness. That was exactly what the Kid wanted. If that Kid knew the Tao of soul attack, with his soul power, he would be able to kill Jida in a second. The current situation is that the Kid has an incomparably tyrannical soul power, but he does not know how to use it. Do you think that Naga would be stupid enough to voluntarily send his soul power into that Kid's sea of consciousness like Jida did? Moreover, with the battle with Kid, Naga already knew the Kid's background in detail. And that Kid does not know Naga's background at all. All of Naga's battles ended in a single strike. He must have many more trump cards, many more terrifying trump cards, but no one knows. As soon as this was said, all the geniuses could not help but secretly nod. That's right. That kid's body refinement and soul strength are two of his trump cards. Naga, on the other hand, seems to have kept all his cards hidden. Every time he defeated an opponent, he defeated them effortlessly with a single sword strike. Naga must have even more powerful, strange, and invincible sword techniques that he has yet to display. If that's the case, it is indeed Naga who is stronger. That kid may not have any more trump cards. Just like what this sir said, he does not have the initiative to use his soul to attack his opponent. He can only passively wait for his opponent to send his soul into his sea of consciousness. What a pity. If that kid knew a little about soul attacks, maybe he could really deal with Naga. All of a sudden, almost all the geniuses had a higher opinion of Naga. The scaly man spoke in an unparalleled and confident tone, as if he was in control of the universe. The highlight of the finals is not the outcome between Naga and that kid, but whether that kid can force Naga to use his second strike. Naga's one strike can kill gods. In the vast universe and countless ordinary planes, I'm afraid that no geniuses under 10,000 years old can force Naga to use his second strike. The biggest highlight of the finals is whether that kid can fight back and withstand a few more strikes. The scaled man took a deep breath and closed his eyes slightly. Naga's one strike is too terrifying, too dazzling, too glorious, too cruel. Moreover, under this strike, there are no survivors. No one can say how they felt when facing that strike. I hope that Naga can display his second strike in the finals. TSK, I'm afraid Naga's second strike has the aura of an immortal. The aura of an immortal. In the eyes of all the geniuses. They were full of anticipation. In a pleasant garden. Master, today I heard many spectating geniuses talking about the finals between you and Naga. It's really infuriating. They actually think that you can't defeat Naga. Thus, the focus of their discussion is whether you can force Naga to use his second strike. One of Xiaofan's slaves said indignantly. Ah. Xiaofan smiled faintly and nodded slightly. Indeed. Naga is too powerful and unfathomable. His attack power. It can be said to be unfathomable. He only uses one strike to kill. At this time, Xiaofan paused for a moment, his face revealing a thoughtful expression, and then he slowly said. I saw a few matches where Naga faced opponents at the 10th level True Chi realm, the Immortal Eye realm, and even opponents with the Heaven's Eye opened. He killed them all with one strike, not giving them a chance to resist. Strictly speaking, I can't do this. If I were to face an expert with the Heaven's Eye opened, I can't seem to do it. Of course, Xiaofan had some ideas in his heart. If he used his mental strength to control the great accomplishment stage Life Blade Chi, he should be able to be like Naga and kill an existence with the Heaven's Eye opened in one strike. At the very least, he should be able to kill some peerless geniuses under 10,000 years old with the Heaven's Eye opened. Of course, even if it was Naga, he might not have the ability to kill those who were not limited by age and had the Heaven's Eye opened in some planes. Ah. At this time, Xiao Mingchu's face was full of annoyance as he beat his chest and stamped his feet. Eldest senior brother, what are you doing? Xiaofan was stunned. Junior brother Xiaofan, seeing your achievements today, I'm really shocked and gratified. But the finals are coming, and I'm very nervous. When the battle for the top 32 officially began, I once thought, junior brother Xiaofan, you will definitely enter the finals. But today, when junior brother Xiaofan enters the finals, I can't stay calm anymore. Moreover, your opponent in the finals is actually Naga, a peerless monster that only appears once in a billion years. I can't stay calm anymore. Ah. If anything happens to junior brother Xiaofan, then Xiao Mingchu's face was full of bitterness. He paused for a moment before continuing. Junior brother Xiaofan, you have a special dual attribute physique, and your physical strength can explode out to 500 billion cauldrons. You can completely crush our plane's tower masters. Moreover, your mental strength is so strong that it makes people speechless. If you leave the genius zone now and return to your hometown, you can definitely sweep the demon metropolis and become an invincible figure in our plane. But now, you have to fight Naga to the death. The rules set by Immortal Emperor Zhu Dao are really cruel. Why can't I withdraw? Why can't I withdraw in the top 16, top 8, and top 4? Why must I fight to the death? Eldest senior brother, I know that you are burning with impatience. But you are worrying about personal gains and losses. You are afraid that I will die in Naga's hands in the finals. But, eldest senior brother, if Immortal Emperor Zhu Dao didn't set this rule, I'm afraid I wouldn't have been able to grow to this stage. It is this kind of life and death struggle that has raised my battle strength to this stage. If I can win the last battle with Nagas, then the temperament of my mind will be immeasurably tempered. I am willing to fight to the death. Xiaofan's eyes flashed with an unparalleled fighting spirit. That's true. Luo Tianyu nodded in agreement. A general success is built on the bones of thousands. The most outstanding genius often rises by stepping on the shoulders of countless other geniuses. Little brother Xiaofan, there are 7 days of rest before the finals. You should properly adjust your condition. We won't disturb you for these few days. After 7 days, we will pray for you in the battle to the death. Alright, I do need to go into seclusion for a few days, Xiaofan said seriously. At this time, in Xiaofan's sea of consciousness, there were still countless fragments of soul sword qi that had yet to be completely refined. The soul sword qi that Jida had used up 90% of his soul power to kill in Xiaofan's sea of consciousness could not be completely refined in a short period of time. He still needed a few more days. I will also go into seclusion and refine all these fragments of soul sword qi to strengthen and nourish my spiritual power. Then, I will break through to the 21st Spirit Finger Technique. If I can break through to the 21st Spirit Finger Technique and solidify my spiritual power, then no matter what tricks or trump cards Naga has, I will not be afraid. Naga's wooden house. Naga sat cross-legged on the couch, his hands forming an ancient and cryptic sword technique. An invincible aura radiated outwards from Naga's body, causing the air, time, space, and light in the wooden house to freeze and stop moving. Above Naga's head, there were layers of space-time storms. Suddenly, from Naga's body, a misty sword qi flew out and split the space-time storms into two, tearing them apart. The moment the space-time storm tore open, an extremely vast world appeared. The energy in that world was tens of millions of times stronger than that of an ordinary realm, perhaps even hundreds of millions of times stronger. There were faint traces of the celestial realm. Good kid. You made me, Naga, have no choice but to get serious. How interesting. How lonely. Only by continuously defeating the strong can I obtain a little bit of temporary joy, Naga smiled coldly. To be continued. Chapter 510. Xiaofan's Wooden House. Xiaofan was also sitting cross-legged on the bed. Both of his hands formed the heaven and earth extinguishing mental technique to refine the soul sword qi fragments in his mental power star. This allowed Xiaofan's mental power to be constantly nourished and strengthened. At the same time, Xiaofan also calmed down and analyzed the opponent he would face in the finals. Naga. Naga who killed gods with one sword. The invincible Naga. This Naga, without a doubt, will be the strongest opponent I have ever met. He is stronger than any human in our plane. He could kill the tower master of our plane. I'm afraid he could kill the strongest demon emperor in the demon capital with one sword. I've heard some rumors that Naga is the reincarnation of an immortal, that he obtained the legacy of an immortal, and that the sword he cultivates is an immortal sword. These rumors are all more mysterious than the last, but one thing is for sure, Naga is definitely not an immortal. The first level of Immortal Emperor Zhu Dao's treasure trove, the Genius Zone, is shielded from immortals. Any immortal who enters, even an immortal emperor, will be turned into ashes. So, Naga is ultimately an ordinary human. As long as he is a human and not an immortal, then I, Xiaofan, have a chance to defeat him. Oh. That's right. The strongest opponent I will face is not Naga, but the demon god's aura that leaked out from the demon egg. I have even met a demon god that slaughters immortals like they are grass. Why would I care about Naga? At this moment, on the eve of the final battle, Xiaofan's thoughts indeed emerged one after another. However, his entire mentality was becoming more and more relaxed, and his belief in winning was becoming stronger and stronger. 3 days later, Xiaofan had already refined all the soul sword chi fragments that Jida had blasted into his sea of consciousness. Not a single drop was left. The soul power of this supreme sword cultivator who had comprehended the sword intent of the great accomplishment stage had indeed become the most perfect nourishment for Xiaofan's mental power. Now, Xiaofan's mental power star was becoming more and more solid. The density of his mental power was also infinitely close to a solid state. After refining Jida's soul power, my mental power has obviously increased by quite a bit. Then, I will use this as my foundation to continue breaking through the heaven and earth extinguishing spiritual technique, the 21st finger technique. Last time, when Xiaofan cultivated the 21st finger technique, he was a step away from breaking through the invincible realm of mental power solidification. The 21st spiritual finger technique contained 1,000,000 subtle and profound hand gestures. Last time, Xiaofan had completed 999,980 of the gestures. Only the last 20 gestures were left. Of course, don't be fooled by these mere 20 hand gestures. They were the core of the 21st spiritual finger technique, the most crucial point. To break through and complete these last 20 hand gestures, every step was arduous and it was truly not easy. But now, Xiaofan had swallowed and refined a huge amount of soul power, so he had some confidence in completing the 20 most difficult hand gestures. Let's begin. Xiaofan's face was solemn and dignified. His hands began to form all kinds of hand gestures. The halo of spiritual energy in his head was crystal clear, emitting a blazing halo. With the replenishment of his mental strength, the bottleneck that he had been unable to overcome previously seemed to have become simple at this moment. One after another, Xiaofan broke through the 999,981, 999, 982, 999,983 hand gestures. The Naga's wooden hut. Above Naga's head, there was an origin energy that was tens of billions of times more powerful than that of a normal plane. At this moment, Naga was chanting something, as if he was chanting some scripture. At the same time, his hands formed a sword technique. He actually used his own mental strength and sword chi to set up a sword formation in the wriggling high-level energy above his head. Goo goo goo, impressively, a faint trace of origin energy from that higher-level world was drawn out by Naga's sword formation. These traces of energy were carefully integrated into Naga's acupoints, limbs, bones, blood, and genes. Refine. Naga was actually able to draw a trace of energy from a higher-level world in a different dimension, and then refine it into his own body's true chi. However, after refining this trace of high-level energy, the wriggling high-level world above Naga's head disappeared. His entire person also showed traces of fatigue. However, the corners of his mouth curled into a haughty smile. That kid, he's just a mortal, it's hard for him to compete with me. After saying that, Naga carefully took out a pill from his storage ring that was overflowing with immortal chi, and put it in his mouth. Then, he carefully nourished it, refined it, and absorbed the energy within it. An immortal pill. Naga was actually using an immortal pill that he had exchanged from the storage of this giant hall. Although he could not be like Xiaofan and crazily consume large amounts of it, he was indeed using an immortal pill that mortals would not be able to enjoy. Xiaofan's wooden hut. Xiaofan's cultivation was relentless. His entire body, mind, and soul were immersed in the cultivation of the 21st spirit finger technique of the extinguishing skies and destroying earth spirit technique. He forgot about everything. As he completed each of the hand gestures, the soul nourishment that he had absorbed from Jida was also consumed bit by bit. The last 20 hand gestures of the 21st spirit finger technique were each more difficult to practice than the last, and the consumption of mental strength was also more exaggerated than the last. Finally, Xiaofan had completely used up all the soul mental strength that he had obtained from Jida. Not a single drop was left. Everything was used to its fullest. Finally, Xiaofan had also completed the 21st spirit finger technique, and he had reached the 999,999 hand gestures. There was only one more hand gesture to complete the 1 million hand gestures, and to solidify his mental strength. Really, unlucky. Too unlucky. Just a little bit more. Xiaofan helplessly struggled out of the cultivation state, and his mouth was full of bitterness, but he was indeed helpless. There was no other way, his mental strength foundation had been exhausted. He had the heart to break through to the 1 million hand gestures, but he did not have enough foundation and accumulation. When it came to cultivation, it could not be forced. Especially when it came to cultivating the extinguishing skies and destroying earth spirit technique, this kind of peerless and miraculous immortal technique that seized the fortune of heaven and earth, had to satisfy the double conditions of the accumulation of the physical body and the accumulation of the soul mental strength foundation in order to succeed. Not a single one could be omitted. Forcefully cultivating it was tantamount to igniting a fire. Moreover, Xiaofan already knew that the accumulation of mental strength needed for the last hand gesture was extremely terrifying, even more than the accumulation of the previous 999,999 hand gestures combined. To complete the last hand gesture and completely solidify the mental strength planet, it is definitely not a simple matter. I must accumulate a large amount of soul mental strength, and then with a spurt of energy, I must forcefully break through the barrier of the eternal separation between heaven and man. But this kind of accumulation, I'm afraid it will be difficult for me to obtain in this genius zone. Even if there were a few Jidas releasing all of their soul power for me to absorb, I would not be able to accumulate enough to complete the last hand gesture. Xiaofan helplessly shook his head, stood up, and stretched his muscles. Then, he walked in front of the light screen, and his mental strength swept through. Tomorrow is the day of the finals. Xiaofan had been in seclusion for a full 7 days. After finishing his cultivation, he realized that tomorrow was the deadline for the life and death battle with Nagas. Immediately, Xiaofan no longer persisted in his cultivation. Instead, he invited Xiao Mingchu, Luo Tianyu, and the rest out for a stroll in the garden, and casually chatted to ease the tense atmosphere before the battle. At this moment, Xiaofan's mentality was indeed a cut above the rest. On the day before the battle, he was actually talking cheerfully and wittily, as if nothing had happened. Xiao Mingchu, Luo Tianyu, and the rest were dumbfounded and shocked. Night. Xiaofan went to sleep early. On the second day, when the first ray of dawn arrived at the giant hall area and entered the various wooden houses, boom rumble. Rumble. The light screen in Xiaofan's wooden house transmitted a huge vibration. It's here. It's here. Xiaofan's spirit shook, and his body moved, arriving in front of the light screen. At the same time, the voice of Immortal Emperor Zhu Dao resounded from the light screen leisurely, two extremely powerful young people. In this vast universe, among the countless planes, the two of you are under 10,000 years old, the most determined, the most tyrannical, and the most talented existences. Then, at this moment, the exploration of the genius zone is about to end. This emperor has set up all sorts of rules in the genius zone for the sake of picking out the strongest genius. This strongest genius can obtain one and only purple celestial key. Yes, a purple celestial key is a symbol of supreme honor. Ha ha ha. The battle has arrived. This battle will definitely be thrilling. Perhaps even the immortals will want to witness this battle with their own eyes. The clash between the two strongest geniuses. A supreme genius will be born. Then. I guess the two of you can't wait any longer, right? Good, good, good. After 10 breaths, the two of you will be transported to the arena. I wish you good luck, let's fight. Xiaofan's spirit was locked onto the light screen. In Naga's wooden house, Naga also stood in front of the light screen with his hands behind his back. Deep in his eye sockets, there was a fanatical expression. His entire body's aura was almost invincible. His raging battle intent soared. That battle intent seemed to condense into a substance and soar into the sky. In this battle, I, Naga, will ascend to the position of the strongest genius in the mortal world. A monarch descends. Naga's eyes were like torches, his divine might awe-inspiring. Apart from Xiaofan and Naga, Xiao Mingchu, Luo Tianyu, and every demon warrior watching the battle had already held their breath. Their hearts tightened, and they didn't even dare to breathe as they stared at the light screen. A pinnacle battle. It was about to begin. In Xiaofan's wooden house. Boom! A vast and resplendent radiance blossomed from the light screen. A majestic spatial vortex rippled, wrapping around Xiaofan. In the next moment, Xiaofan was already swept into the light screen by this spatial fluctuation. To be continued. Chapter 511. Immortal Emperor Zhu Dao, who was ranked third in the history of the immortal world, was now in his lair. The first level of the Genius Zone was about to end. At the same time, the Genius Zone exploration had finally reached its peak, its most glorious and intense moment. Countless geniuses had gone through countless battles of life and death. Survival of the fittest. Finally, the final match between the two peerless monsters. Xiaofan against Naga. An incomparably breathtaking battle. At this moment, within the cracks of space, everything was chaotic and hazy. In the middle was a stage. A glorious stage. On the stage, Xiaofan and Naga were like old enemies, finally meeting face to face. At this moment, Xiaofan's expression was not as tense as an arrow on a bowstring. He had already cultivated the demeanor and aura of an unparalleled expert. He looked at Naga indifferently. As for Naga, he still had that proud and aloof temperament. He had chestnut-colored hair, linen clothes, and an ordinary long sword on his back. His eyebrows and the corners of his eyes seemed to have an innate disdain. His eyes were extremely cold. When facing Naga, it gave Xiaofan the terrifying feeling of facing a giant beast from the abyss. Moreover, Naga was a sword cultivator like Jida. However, Naga's sword was completely different from Jida's. Simply put, Jida's sword walked the path of righteousness. But Naga's sword seemed to walk the path of evil. A sword that was unconventional. From Naga's body, thin and dense sword chi rose in spirals. This sword chi was vague, illusory, and emitted an extremely evil and gloomy spiritual wave. Within Naga's sword chi, there was an indescribable will. This kind of will was like a king descending upon the world, looking down on all living things, causing all living things to kneel and submit. For existences with a slightly weaker heart, Naga did not even need to make a move. Just the sword chi was enough to completely shatter the opponent's mental defenses. This person's sword Dao can't be measured with common sense. Xiaofan was slightly vigilant. However, with Xiaofan's strong soul and spiritual force, he naturally would not be affected by Naga's sword chi. He is indeed a character. Through the continuous battles in the Genius Zone, they've developed a bit of a reputation. Naga was not in a hurry to make his move. Instead, he began to criticize Xiaofan. His gaze swept across Xiaofan's body, as if he wanted to see through all of Xiaofan's internal organs and secrets. It was as if he was looking at an animal waiting to be slaughtered. Barely enough to be my opponent, forcing me, the Naga, to be a little more serious. You should know that in the vast universe, in the endless ordinary planes, there are very few people who can make me, the Naga, really put my heart into it, except for some old-fashioned tower masters. Naga's tone was extremely arrogant and conceited to the extreme. If someone else said this, Xiaofan wouldn't have been able to hold back his laughter. But strangely, when it came from Nagas, it gave off a very reasonable feeling. That's right, he did have the right to be arrogant. Ever since he entered the giant hall, Nagas had only used one sword to kill his enemies in the arena. He had never used a second sword. Even when facing a tower master who had opened the heaven's eye, he only used one sword to kill them in a split second. Indeed, Naga, among the tens of millions of heroes who entered the Genius Zone, you have the strangest combat power and the strongest strength. Xiaofan nodded slightly. But now that you've met me, your invincibility, your undefeatable legend will come to an end. Oh? Is that so? Naga smiled without anger. Kid, you probably think that you have the strength to challenge me, the Naga, just because you defeated Li Xiaotian and Kid. You're really stupid. You still don't understand the situation, then. I'll teach you a lesson. As soon as he finished speaking, Naga's entire body was filled with battle intent. He could no longer restrain himself and violently shot out. Suddenly, the entire arena was filled with flying sand and rolling stones. The sun and moon lost their light as sword chi surged. It was the end of the world. Xiaofan's figure did not move an inch. However, an imposing aura also spread out from Xiaofan's body. Xiaofan's body became transparent and flawless, crystal clear and smooth. The lightning of the celestial world intertwined with each other, mixed with the fragrance of the leaves of the earth that seemed to come from the distant mountains, and the golden dawn treasure chi of the indestructible golden body, the two strongest people. Finally, the battle was about to begin. At the same time, every hero who was watching the battle held their breath. Their spiritual waves were locked onto the light screen. Their eyes did not even blink as they stared at this rare battle that could only be encountered by chance. Furthermore, many thoughts began to surface in their minds. This battle is indeed a battle of the pinnacle. However, the most peculiar thing is, the true chi cultivation of both sides is very weak. One is at the 6th level true chi, the expanded acupoint realm. The other is at the 7th level true chi, the talisman transforming realm. Unbelievable, the two strongest heroes are actually a mess in terms of true chi cultivation. These two true chi rookies actually killed countless 9th and 10th level true chi opponents, leaving them without a complete corpse. Moreover, there is almost no true chi fluctuation in the arena where they are fighting. Both of them are not using true chi as their battle power. This is really a treacherous battle. Soul power. Both of them have extremely strong soul power. Moreover, both of their soul and mental strength can change the surrounding environment. They can change the weather in a small area. Right now, the arena is extremely dangerous. If an ordinary person dares to enter the arena, they will immediately be affected by the soul and mental strength of both sides. In an instant, they will become an idiot or a madman. Naga is going to use a sword that can kill gods and Buddhas if they stand in his way. No one can block this sword of Naga's. I don't know if this kid can make an exception and force Naga to use a second sword, or even force Naga to use even more terrifying and fierce methods. On the arena. I want to attack with the first sword. Naga looked at Xiaofan arrogantly and coldly. This sword is not a soul attack, it is just an ordinary sword. Huh. Xiaofan was stunned. Kid, your physical defense is extremely strong, to the point that even a sword cultivator like Jida could not break through your defense even if he used all his strength to attack with his great accomplishment life sword chi. However, I will now forcefully break through your defense. I will pierce through you. Naga was full of confidence, as if he had perfect control over the rhythm of the battle. This sword is hard to block. Kid, let's see your luck. If you can't even block this sword, then you are not worthy to be my true opponent. Just as he finished speaking, a blood-red sword light blossomed from Naga's body. Following that, Naga's body suddenly became blurry and distorted, as if he had suddenly disappeared from the arena. Then, Kang! The blood-red sword light, like a tidal wave, surged towards Xiaofan. This was Naga's sword. The sword of the killing god. Countless level 9 and level 10 true chi martial artists died under this one sword strike. Their bodies were covered in cuts and bruises, and they were completely destroyed. They did not even have the chance to resist or dodge. Now, this sword brazenly slashed towards Xiaofan. In Xiao Mingchu's wooden hut, Xiao Mingchu's pupils contracted. This sword was slashed by Naga. This is the sword. It looks ordinary, but no one can block it. Junior brother Xiaofan, will you be able to dodge this sword? Naga's exploding sword caused all the spectating chivalrous heroes to be shaken to the core. This sword again. It's no different from every previous battle, it's just this sword. Yes, seriously speaking, the chivalrous heroes who had watched Naga's battle knew that Naga's fighting style was not fancy. It could even be said that it was boring. It was just one sword. The sword light flashed, and a head fell to the ground. It did not display any profoundness of swordsmanship, nor did it display any techniques. But it was unparalleled. This sword made every spectating chivalrous hero sick of it. All the spectating chivalrous heroes, in their hearts, hoped that Naga could change his fighting style. But the premise was that the opponent was strong enough to block this sword. Can that kid block Naga's sword? Or should I say, it's the same as every previous battle of Naga. The sword light flashed, and the outcome of the battle was settled. Xiaofan faced Naga's sword head-on. Perhaps the other chivalrous heroes who were watching through the screen were unable to understand the true meaning of this sword. But Xiaofan, who was the first to bear the brunt, deeply understood it. There was no technique in this sword, only one word, fast. The blood-red sword light was like a wave, covering Xiaofan. Within the sword wave, there seemed to be dense sword chi surging, but Xiaofan saw clearly that this was just one sword. However, because they were too fast, it gave people the illusion that they were countless streaks of sword chi. This sword was so fast that it could suppress a person's soul and stop their thoughts. This sword was so fast that Naga's body seemed to disappear from the arena. If you don't face this sword directly and only watch the battle through the screen, you'll never be able to understand how fast this sword is. I know now, those who died under this sword actually didn't have the time to react and were cut to death by 1,000 cuts. Xiaohan's pupils began to contract. In his mind, there were no distracting thoughts, and the spiritual power star began to open. A powerful and brilliant spiritual power halo poured out from Xiaohan's head, illuminating the ages. Xiaohan's thinking and reaction speed increased by 1,000 times. 10,000 times. The stronger the spiritual power, the faster the soul's thinking and reaction speed. Therefore, this sword that was as fast as lightning suddenly seemed to slow down in Xiaohan's eyes. Buzz, buzz, buzz. Within the blood-red sword chi wave, there was suddenly a strong vibration, and it accelerated again, seeking speed in the midst of speed. As it vibrated, the wave of blood-colored sword chi mysteriously disappeared, as if it had teleported. In the next instant, the wave of blood-colored sword chi suddenly appeared behind Xiaohan's head. The speed of this sword was so fast, and the vibration was so intense that it resonated with the heavens and earth. The entire space on the arena began to fluctuate. A large area of air was crushed by the sword chi, destroyed, and collapsed. The speed of this sword was tens of times faster than the speed of light. The secret of Naga's sword was speed. The sword chi could teleport, kill gods and slay ghosts, and be invincible. No wonder, Naga knew that Xiaofan's physical defense was invincible, but said that he would forcefully break through Xiaofan's defense. It turned out that he wanted to use the speed formula to break through Xiaofan's defense. Of all the martial arts in the world, only speed could not be broken. As long as the attack speed was fast enough, even water could pierce through iron and stone. Not to mention Naga's Desheng stage natal sword chi. The speed of Naga's sword, compared to Jida's sword, was definitely 1,000 times, 10,000 times faster. Xiaofan was sure that even with his great earth physique defense, under such a fast sword, it would definitely be pierced through and killed. However, Xiaofan's spiritual power was also incomparably strong. Suddenly, Xiaofan's body slightly flashed. Time on the stage seemed to have stopped all of a sudden. All the chivalrous swordsmen who were watching the battle saw Xiaofan's body flash through the light screen, and they all felt a strong time lag. This time difference had a sense of reversing the universe. It made every chivalrous hero watching the battle feel extremely uncomfortable and confused. Looking at the arena again. The blood-red sword chi wave dissipated. It was as if it had never appeared. Xiaofan and Naga were still facing each other. Fast sword. Xiaofan smiled at Naga. Naga, the secret of your ultimate killing sword is speed. Indeed, with such a fast speed, the sword chi can ignore the difference in realms, and kill people of a higher level. It is very easy and pleasant. But, a fast sword, to me, is useless. Of course, if you're able to make this sword move several times faster, or even 10 times faster, then I definitely won't be able to dodge it. My physical body's defense will be useless, and I'll be easily killed by you. However, I believe that the speed of this sword is already the limit that you can reach. Naga, your killer god's single sword, is still lacking some maturity. He dodged it. That kid actually dodged Naga's ultimate killing sword. Heavens! Ever since Naga entered the giant hall, he only needed one sword to kill people. No expert would be able to dodge this sword, but that kid actually dodged it. Moreover, he strolled leisurely, very relaxed. Now he is speaking with assurance, as if this sword did not pose any threat to him. Finally, a physical expert that can force Naga to use his second sword has appeared. On the arena. Naga's expression slightly changed, but it quickly returned to its indifferent state. The strength of your soul has allowed your thinking and reaction speed to catch up with the speed of my sword. Good, very good. You have successfully forced me to use my other techniques. You are a very good opponent, but you will die even more miserably. That sword just now was only the tip of the iceberg of my strength. To be continued. Chapter 5:12. The Celestial Stone Competition. Finals. It was thrilling. Xiaofan vs. Naga. In this pinnacle battle, Naga still gained the upper hand by showing off his strength. He directly used that sword. Sword of Death. Killer God single stroke. No matter what level of opponent Naga encountered, no matter what the situation was, he would kill them with one stroke. There was no other way. No one could block this stroke. And at this moment, Naga repeated his old trick. He also used this invincible stroke against Xiaofan. The scene was extremely frozen. All the spectating chivalrous heroes, after seeing Naga's stroke, even their thoughts and souls stopped. However, Xiaofan actually dodged this stroke. Moreover, Xiaofan did it casually, without the slightest bit of embarrassment. It could be said that he calmly dodged this stroke. Shock. The stroke known as Killer God was dodged by Xiaofan. All the spectating chivalrous heroes could not believe their eyes. They all stared dumbfoundedly at the screen. Although before the start of this battle, there were many spectating chivalrous heroes who were slightly optimistic about Xiaofan, subconsciously thinking that Xiaofan could possibly create a miracle. But when the real battle started, the moment Naga walked onto the arena, all the chivalrous heroes could not help but place their confidence in Naga. Because as long as Naga stood on the arena, he was a god. Because Naga's sword had never let anyone down. Therefore, when he executed that deadly, cruel and resplendent stroke, almost every spectating chivalrous hero instinctively thought that this battle would end with Naga's opponent being instantly killed, just like every previous battle. However, Xiaofan created a miracle. Xiaofan did not die. This kind of ending was completely different from all the previous times. The godlike Naga, his invincible stroke, missed. Ha 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 ha. Every spectating chivalrous hero's throat seemed to be gripped by an invisible hand, causing them to make strange owl-like sounds. On the arena. Kid, you should be proud to be able to block my stroke, your life is already valuable. Naga looked at Xiaofan coldly. Although this sword is only the tip of the iceberg, in this world, there are very few people who can dodge this sword. You were able to force me to use my second sword. Even if you lose, you will die a worthy death. Heck, Xiaofan couldn't help but mock Naga's arrogance. Naga, to put it bluntly, that sword of yours isn't that big of a deal. It's just that it's fast. The speed of the sword chi far exceeds the speed of light. However, I can clearly see the trajectory of your sword and the direction of your attack. Even if you slash out 10 times, 100 times, or even 1,000 times, I will still be able to dodge them without a scratch. Even so, Xiaofan secretly rejoiced in his heart. If his extinguishing skies and destroying earth spiritual technique had not been cultivated to this level, that sword just now would have cut him to death. Fortunately, before I came to the genius region, our tower master chose the path of the space springboard, and the path was filled with hallucinatory magical lands. This caused my mental strength to receive an indescribable tempering, and it rose steadily. Towards the cultivation of the extinguishing sky decimating earth spiritual technique, it was like a hot knife through butter. It was also fortunate that I met that idiot kid in the top 4, who gave me the spiritual sword chi to nourish my spirit. Otherwise, I really would not have been able to deal with Naga. Xiaofan indeed had some lingering fears. Trash. You're just like an ant, yet you dare to talk back. Naga was proud and arrogant. No one had ever dared to talk back to him like Xiaofan. His eyes moved, and the weather changed in all directions. The wind blew and the clouds surged. His figure once again became blurry. Shio 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 shio, waves of blood-red sword light shot out from Naga's pores. They were like evil dragons as they charged towards Xiaofan. These blood-red sword lights carried the power of 10,000 swords as they slashed towards Xiaofan. In an instant, they formed a huge sword formation that covered Xiaofan's head and face. Within this sword formation, countless hazy shadows appeared. It was as if there were hundreds and thousands of ancient sword cultivators cultivating the way of the sword and practicing supreme sword techniques. It was like a dream. Naga was indeed a peerless demon. This time, it was not because he wanted to accumulate power to attack, but because he was angered by Xiaofan. Therefore, with a thought, sword chi automatically shot out from all the pores of his body, forming a sword formation that charged towards Xiaofan. This was the sword born from the heart. With a thought, the sword chi would take someone's life. Shio 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 shio, Xiaofan did not dare to be careless. The mental power star in his sea of consciousness suddenly shrank, causing Xiaofan's mental energy to reach an unfathomable realm. He did not even need to use his eyes to see. Instead, he relied on his reflexes and thoughts to dodge Naga's sword chi attacks. He dodged through the gaps of the sword formation like a fish in water, avoiding the sword formation's attack. "This is your second sword? It's only a so-so. Die." As Xiaofan dodged Naga's sword chi attacks, he also burst forth with a desperate counterattack. Xiaofan punched out violently. This punch was like a thunderbolt, containing an imposing force. It contained the strength of 5 trillion ding. With the Thunder God Tyrant body as the foundation, it violently hammered out. Wherever it went, the air shattered like tiles. A violent gust of wind grew from Xiaohan's fist, forming all kinds of wind blades mixed with lightning. Wind swords, wind spears, wind dragons, wind tigers, wind explosions, swept out in all directions. If it was said that Naga had deduced the sword Tao of the human world to its limit, then Xiaofan had deduced power to its limit. Pooh! Xiaohan's fist directly smashed into Naga's body. However, Naga's body twisted a few times and disappeared. In the next moment, Naga's figure flashed from Xiaohan's left side to Xiaohan's right side. Fast. Naga's movement speed was also as fast as a ghost. Naga's mouth suddenly revealed a trace of a sinister smile. "That sword chi attack just now was naturally not my second sword. That was just some sword chi fluctuations produced by my anger." When these words fell into the ears of countless demon warriors watching the battle, they were all so scared that they almost fainted. The countless blood-red sword chi that formed the ultimate killing sword formation could kill ghosts and gods, but it was actually not a serious attack from Naga, but a trace of anger in his heart. In other words, a trace of Naga's thoughts could be turned into an ultimate killing technique. Words followed the law. This was almost beyond the mortal world, close to the means of an immortal. The more they watched the battle, the more these demon warriors understood the difference between them and Naga. On the arena, Naga restrained his anger. The sword chi fluctuations in his body instantly calmed down. It could be said that he could control it freely, but his eyes were even colder and crueler. It seems that pure physical sword chi attacks are ineffective against you. The speed of my sword is tens of thousands of times faster than Ji does. I originally thought that without using other methods, I could still kill you, but I still slightly underestimated you. Then, die. Die under my second sword." Suddenly, the aura on Naga's body became extremely cold and bloody. He did not pull out the sword on his back, but used the index and middle fingers of his left hand to form a sword and pointed at Xiaofan. Just like that, there was no sharp sword chi fluctuations at all. Even the anger and killing intent was not as good as the sword chi attack just now. This caused the demon warriors watching the battle to be stunned. The second sword? This is Naga's second sword? Why does it look so ordinary, like it's played down? Naga has finally used the second sword. But this sword? I really can't understand it. It's too calm. On the arena, Xiaofan maintained a clear mind at all times. The mental power star in his sea of consciousness emitted waves of energy, nourishing Xiaofan, causing his mind to be pure, clear, and flawless. He maintained a fearless state of mind and the conviction to defeat Naga. The second sword? Xiaofan did not dare to be careless. He believed that Naga's second sword must be many times more terrifying than the first sword. However, Naga's second sword did not have the slightest sword chi or sword intent fluctuations. For a thousandth of a second, Xiaofan was slightly stunned. Immediately, it was replaced by an inexplicable psychological shadow. At this moment, Xiaofan seemed to be possessed by some evil and ominous sign. An indescribable, nightmarish feeling grew in his heart. Strange! Xiaofan secretly cried out. Then, his body moved, his entire body seemed to forcibly tear open the space, and he directly retreated. However, as Xiaofan retreated, that ominous premonition still locked onto Xiaofan, like maggots on a bone. Xiaofan's physical body was incomparably strong. In every breath, he could advance and retreat, jump and fly. However, Xiaofan continued to move around the arena, but he could not escape from that nightmare. It was as if there was an ancient demon resting on top of his head. It's useless, all your struggles are futile. Die. My second sword. Great psychedelic heart devil sword. The corner of Naga's mouth pulled into a cold smile. The next moment. Boom. Suddenly, above Xiaofan's head, a sword chi appeared out of thin air. It was silent, like a shadow, like a ghost. In an instant, it poured down, directly into Xiaofan's brain. This time, Xiaofan did not dodge. However, this sword was still not tainted with the slightest bit of mortal fire, nor did it have the slightest bit of sharp killing intent. This sword was only mysterious, secretive, and ethereal. Hit. That kid did not dodge Naga's second sword. He finally got hit. What kind of mystery does Naga's second sword have? It doesn't seem to have any killing power. Hit. A sword chi, without a sound, directly pierced into that kid's brain. Naga's second sword must be 10 times, 100 times more terrifying than the first sword. With such an irresistible force, that brat's brain is dead for sure. On the arena. This sword did not have the slightest sword chi fluctuation. It was so swift that I actually could not dodge it. Xiaofan's heart slightly tightened. Logically speaking, my mental strength is tyrannical. No matter how fast the sword is, I should be able to dodge it. However, Naga's second sword gave me a feeling of fate, as if it was a tribulation that I had to experience, a tribulation that I was fated to not be able to dodge. To be continued. You're tuning into the Xiaofan's Wuxia Tales YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.